Long overdue, folks, but we are here for a very special, a Christmas treat, if you will. For the late night Grin audience, we are live for the final Full Sail Behind of 2025. And a free one at that, because our guest here, he can't be locked behind a paywall. God forbid. We couldn't do that after 3 months of promotional posts. We couldn't do that. I am joined by the great Rob Naylor. Rob, how are you, mate?
Hey, thanks for having me on here. I am doing very good. And everyone, I'm going to get my laptop fixed or get a new laptop, and I'll have a nice visual next time I'm on here. But it's great to be on here, Joe, and looking forward to talking about some NXT.
Yeah, and in fear of, getting ahead of ourselves, based on us immediately doing the show in the pre-show before even going live, I think this could be something we see happen, semi-regularly, but hopefully we'll make that happen next time and we'll have
Yes.
Rob on camera. But for this, honestly, as in the weeds as we may get today, it may be for the best that people have some distance, It may be for the it may be for the best for them. But this is a really cool deal for us. A lot of our audience has been very excited about it. This show, we have now been doing Full Sail Behind for, God, over a year. I think it was the 15th episode, I think. We go month by month and just kind of chipping away at an era of wrestling that I think with each passing month becomes more interesting. So many of these names still relevant, right? I mean, here we're in the midst of a Samoa Joe world title program while he's the world champion in AEW. It's insane. Did you have any of those moments before we even get in any of the details? Do you have any of those moments where it's like 10 years, huh? Because that happens to me a lot when I do this series, Rob.
Oh my God, yeah. 10 years and 20 years. Like the fact that Kenta Loki and Joe Kobashi was 20 years ago, I can't process that. I don't want to
Yeah.
accept it. It's a real thing, but it doesn't seem that way to me. And even with this, it's like 10 years ago, 2015 NXT was just so crazy. 15 years ago, FCW was rocking and rolling. And even seeing Full Sail, because
Yeah.
my I got to NXT, or sorry, I got the developmental FCW in October of 2011. And literally, I got hired in a span of 4 weeks. Literally, someone moved up to be Hunter's assistant. They needed someone desperately to take over the office managing role, and I had sent me doing commentary for like CZW or Dragon Gate USA and Evolve to Joey Mercury. And I never in a million years and like they're gonna bring me in. Like, why? But then they called me and they're like, hey, we there's a spot open. We want to try you out. They called me up. I made time. I flew down to Tampa. I tried out for about, I think, either 3 or 4 days. It was just an insane, insane whirlwind of a 3 or 4 day tryout. I flew home and I was like, I don't know how that all went, but that was cool. And then, days later they called me. They're like, hey, you want to get here by Friday? And then I moved down to Tampa, Florida in a span of like 4 to 5 more days. And then it all started. But even that, like, and that's October 2011. In November, we cut a TV show, which we did our FCW television in Tampa, and the Dream walks in one day and he's like, Robbie, baby, here you go. Project Fail Safe. And I'm like, Fail Safe? What is that? So Fail Safe, it was Full Sail. And then I'm like, well, what is Full Sail? So then Full Sail was a mystery to me. And then I learned, obviously, it was this amazing school and this technical facility in Winter Park. And sure enough, Project H was born. We did a pilot on December 7th, 2011, which when I was in there for that pilot, I was like, oh my God, like this building has such good energy and good acoustics. And I'm just like, everything was very streamlined and the technical aspects were amazing. And I was like, maybe this will be cool to run shows here someday. And then like 6 months later, boom, there you go. But Full Sail, fail safe. It's one and the same to me.
That's tremendous. And now, as a fan, had a moment recently, so I can only imagine for you. They did a show, I want to say in October, a couple months back, which was like a Full Sail nostalgia show. It was like, we're going back to the old school, and they had the videos, and it's wild. It feels like not a lot has changed, but if we actually really thought about it, a lot has changed, right? I mean, and I think a lot of it gets traced back to this time, actually. So, very, very interesting. But that's a great anecdote to kick us off. So, this month is one that has a lot of nostalgia for me personally. I was at the London show this is building to. And it's interesting always to compare the things that you have a nostalgia for to when you actually watch them with a somewhat analytical eye. And one thing I found really interesting about this was it feels like they really had to hurry into London. And we'll talk about it more as we go. On this particular show, folks, we're going to be covering basically 3 TVs, but really 2 to build to London, and the one that's almost like a takeover bonus feature, which we'll close with. Before we do that, you mapped out some of the timeline there, Rob. When would you have left NXT mid 2013? Would that be right? Would that be
Yes,
accurate?
my
Yeah.
last day was, I believe my last day was June 29th or 30th, and there was a TV taping like the week before. So they basically gave me like a week long goodbye bunch of stuff, which I thought was very nice and cool of everybody. But that was it for me. So October 2011 to July 2013. And the crazy thing about you even saying I was at the London show.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got there, my first weekend, they brought CM Punk in to face Dean Ambrose in Kissimmee, and there was like 3,000 fans there. And I had done indie shows and taken car rides with John Moxley to Evolve and CZW and the whole thing. So it was so surreal to me to even be hired by WB Developmental. My buddy was Punk, and then basically John Moxley, a guy I knew, was Dean Ambrose, and Punk came down from WWE main roster to wrestle Ambrose on our show, and the energy in Kissimmee was crazy. Now, I am told before I got there, Rey Mysterio visited, and it was another like 3,000, 4,000 fans. So when I got there, I was like, oh my God. So there's like 76 people that come to our TV tapings in Tampa at the FCW building, but we have these house shows with thousands of people. And we have such a finite amount of human beings on staff, and I have to be in charge of running the audio and microphones. And I was like, and setting up the music, and every piece of music has to go through me, and getting with the ring announcers and making sure the all the assistants do what they were like. I was like, how am I going to do this? So it was very crazy to me. But then we would have shows in a place called Fort Pierce, and they would be big shows. We get Zack Ryder or Cody would come down and work, and him do an autograph signing with his dad. And we do these big shows and get like 3,000, 2,500 people. But by and large, it was very rare that we'd get that many people. Usually our loop, we'd get about maybe 100 to 300, maybe 400 people. So the week I left, they had got someone new in to help promote the shows, and they changed that up. And we had done probably 3 weeks of like under 100 people shows, like embarrassing levels of low fans in these buildings. And I remember everyone pointing fingers of why this was happening, and they weren't doing street team anymore, and they were promoting differently. They were promoting online instead of in the towns, which was always Steve Kern's thing. So everyone was pointing fingers, and no one really knew why. But I just remember thinking, damn, man, like, I think with talent, it's getting better and better, but there's just less and less people at these shows. So then I left, and then I lost track of how things were going largely. And then, damn it, in 2014, I'm just seeing they're running when pay per view weekends, and they're running shows on their own. And then that Brooklyn show with Bailey and Sasha that did like, 12,000, 13,000 people. I was like, oh my God, like, look what this has done. And again, when I was there, I remember we got like my first day, I brought in a DVD of like Brody Lee against Pac from Dragon Gate USA. I was like, these guys, they're the ones. Get them in here. Please, please. Here, watch this. Who needs to see this? Here's this tape. And I just remember slowly but surely everybody put in for all their other indie friends. So when I was there, obviously it was Rollins, Moxley, Hero, and Claudio got called down. Then I got called in miraculously. And then there was other folks too, but it like all the indie guys just put in for their indie bros kind of. And then even the girls were putting in for their indie girl, like the girls they worked with in the indies also. So it was just this growth of the promotion where when I got there, it was the quote brothers and the others, where basically you had athletes, you had people starting from scratch, and then you just had people who were wrestling and they're on the indies and they had a background in either other countries, etc. So it was this big Pangea of everyone coming together. But then it just started to, I kept thinking to myself, man, why don't they run shows like a mini Ring of Honor, a mini PWG? And why don't we run, Sami Zayn against Adrian Neville? Like, why aren't we doing this? We could draw some indie fans. And it's like, no, that would never, what are you talking about? Like, it's different people be like, you're full of shit. This is what you don't get about wrestling. I'm like, all right, I guess. So, like, for me, like as soon as I was out, like they start running Neville against, Sammy on house shows, and I just slowly saw like a lot of really cool stuff, and then more fans were coming to shows. And I'm not saying they were just coming for the indie fans, but I do absolutely believe when Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, and Kenta were all there, and then the girls also. There was just a combination of all of that, and like it just really connected with fans, and it just grew and grew. And damn it, they went to London, man. Like you were there. Like how
Yeah.
did they go? It was just so out of my thought when I left there in June 2013, and we're running Cocoa Beach in front of like 78 people, that like 2 years later they'd be running to like 10,000 fans in London. Like unbelievable. So they
And
they grew it, man. So good on them.
one thing I was thinking about watching this, and I was trying to figure out. I feel like this is the last example of it that we have in the states. They actually marketed the success of the live events in a really old school way. Once they started getting hot, for
Yes.
example, we see on the final episode of this month, they have that awesome video recapping all the UK towns, and you see, the kids there, see Bailey and people with the Finn Balor paint on. Um, I think they even do like a screenshot of a tweet that's like, "They're all these markets are sold out." Stay tuned.
Yes.
But that's so old school, right? And
Yes.
10 years ago now, but it feels like so distant with how so few house shows we have now. It's like, whoa, it's so jarring almost. But that was also my fault.
They were taking it on the road. And when I was there, it was always like, we could never go on the road because this is developmental. We have to be here 5 days a week. This is not congruent with what the thought is for developmental. And even I was like, well, why can't you just take the people in the A class and take them on the road? And it was just like, well, no, because they have to integrate with all the other people. It was just, I didn't know how they were ever going to do it. Like, obviously they did, but it's just there were so many like, no, we don't do this. Like even I'm watching this and there's extras. I remember the day I walked in the office, I'm like, why don't we have some independent wrestlers as extras? We're just beating all of our greener, younger talent on these shows. Why aren't there extras? Well, what if they get hurt? Well, I'm like, sign a release. Like, what? This is like so obvious to me. And I'm just like, well, our superstars shouldn't be in the ring with. And I'm like, it doesn't make any fucking. It didn't make any sense to me, right? So like, there'd be little butting heads on that. So again, this is obvious stuff. I'm not saying I'm Einstein over here for like pitching something like that, but I'm just like, when I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, there's Corey Hollis and John Schuyler, and oh, okay, they don't work there. Or there's Leva Bates. She's Blue Pants. She's not officially signed, as far as I know at the time. So I'm just like, wow, they're actually using extras as extra talent. So I thought that was nothing but a good thing because basically you could scout your extras, and if they're good enough, and I'm sure there's cases of this, like I'm sure they hired many people that were extras. But that's another thing. But you're right. When they would say sold out, Philly,
Yeah.
I watched the same thing as you did, Joe, and they really do the on screen of, hey, we just ran all these places and we sold them out. So if you want to go, you better get your tickets fast. Like that's such an old school mentality, but I was almost at peace watching it. 'Cause like, wow, like they were hot. They knew they were hot and they were promoting that fact. And people just bought the tickets because they knew how hot it was.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember and it feels like Brooklyn, and that's not to understate, there was great stuff before Brooklyn, and obviously they had Kevin, they had Sammy, Neville, Joe, the Four Horsewomen, but I think Brooklyn was when the wider wrestling world saw it and was like, okay, this is something special. Obviously, Bailey and Sasha, central to that and then some. And London following Brooklyn. But one thing that I'd forgotten until rewatching these, and I'm intrigued how you feel about this as someone that, you didn't have the nostalgia of, I went to the London show, obviously. So I didn't actually think, watching these TVs, they necessarily, I didn't think London felt near what Brooklyn did in promotion, which is interesting just in the sense that everything in a vacuum was very tidy, very efficient TV. I'm intrigued if it worked better for you because maybe you didn't have the expectations I had from the memories of watching it at the time. But did you, coming out of this, did you feel a great deal of hype and anticipation for London on those last two TVs that you got to see of the build?
I thought they promoted it good enough, but
Yep.
again, it's London. I feel they could have promoted it more.
Right.
But again, they were just so focused on doing what they were doing. And what you got to remember also is I'm sure at this time they were still doing the 3 weeks worth of tapings. Because that was
Yes.
another thing in my gig. What I did was why I didn't write the show. It was usually Ryan Ward. Dusty had some say, and Paul Levesque had some say. So basically, they would all just be at the top of the table, and then everyone else, rank and file, would be at the table. Michael Hayes would come down and sit at the table, and we'd get some other people. But usually when I walked in there with Byron, me and Byron were pretty much the go-to guys at FCW and NXT, and Chris Russo prior to me. But we would all just be there, and we would just be there doing logging all the notes and making sure all the office stuff was taken care of, and we are the eyes and ears of the institution, so to speak. So we would be in there, and it was just like it all moved so fast. Like we weren't clued in. Like that day when that script hit the thing and we printed them out because that was my job at the printer and getting the scripts out to everyone and all that other nonsense. But then after the initial meeting, I would take the script and completely make all the changes that were made, which could be a lot, by the way.
Yeah.
So then it was on me. In the next 20 minutes, my ass better be sitting down and making all those changes. I better get that other color paper in that fucking printer. I better make sure I misspelled Michael Hayes's name with the A and the E in the wrong place, and I got pulled aside and screamed at for that once. So like again, and I'm sure PS didn't give a shit, but like again, it came down on me anyway from someone else. So again, a lot of pressure. You had to be hyper focused on what was going on, and I would pray for those meetings. Like, don't raise your hand, don't change anything, because I just know that it's going to be chaos for me to make sure that all these producers have their new sheets and everything gets changed. But anyway, so there was all of that. But it's I'm sure in doing the 3 hours of taping, they're like, all right, London's in 4 weeks, so we're going to be putting our TV show together, and we
Right.
got to hit this, and this, but we got to stay focused on just the brand itself, and the house shows will fall in line accordingly. But again, what a big show that London show ended up being. I was really blown away by seeing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point about the tapings, you are correct. The first two tapings we watched were from the November 19th taping. They were the second and third from that date. And so, the tag that closes episode 2 is a little bit, it's kind of abbreviated. And I was watching it, I thought, oh, Joe's already had the Ciampa match, so that would make sense. And one of the things that's kind of fascinating about this version of NXT, right, is you have that mix where it's like, yes, Samoa Joe is on these TVs, but there are also guys that are brand new, and they're just finding their way, and some of them went on to have incredible careers. But that contrast, I think, was one of the great strengths of NXT. The idea of a familiar face, but also someone who you're just discovering at times, and that balance, in my opinion, and this is just me talking here, but I think this era is a little bit of a sweet spot in terms of like the right mesh. I think they may have gone too far in that direction, but obviously you're always happy to see guys get gigs. How did you kind of feel about that increasing trend over time? The further removed you yourself was from it, you talked about being the voice kind of, what if we did these two familiar indie names wrestling each other? In 5 years after your departure, that is pretty much the entire show. What did you make of that from the outside looking in? I'm intrigued.
Uh, like when I first got there, well, I'll take it back to that. So
Yeah.
when I first got there, you had people that were in OVW system. You had people that were on the indies. Like Damian Sandow was a gigantic over commodity when I first got there. And his act was incredible in Florida for FCW. And I could easily see how it was going to translate main roster, right? But you had Claudio, you had Hero, you had Moxley, you had Rollins, who were TJ Wilson was always Tyson Kidd, and then you
Yep.
had McGillicuddy, Henning, he was there. Peter Orlov, who was oh my god, why am I forgetting his name? Peter Orlov was Alex Kozlov. You had some like quote unquote work rate people, but then you just had like stars. Yeah, like Rusev, Big E, like we
Yeah.
Roman Reigns was Leaki. You had all these people that were getting their reps, and the people liked it. Like the live crowds liked these people. Bray Wyatt, for Christ's sake. Like you had all these people that were getting over with their big gimmicks, but then you also had the work rate, and that's Dusty go underneath Eddie Graham. You were gonna have your stars at the top, your Curtis Iakea. You were gonna have Kareem Muhammad, you're gonna have Bugsy McGraw, you're gonna have Dusty Rhodes, but then you're gonna have Tony Charles, and you're gonna have Les Thornton on the undercard. You're gonna have your workers, and then you're gonna have your spectacles. And I think that was part of the mix. And between 2012 and 13 and 14 and 15 NXT, I don't think it really changes. I think you always
Mhm.
have really quality vignettes, a lot of really hardworking, good people behind the scenes, making these people have way more depth with their different production value and things of that nature. And then also you just have the in ring matches and guys and girls just going for it. And in watching this, because I had not seen these TV shows before this project, so like in watching it, I'm like, this is more of the same. Obviously, it's a bigger crowd, it's a bigger audience. There's some more bells and whistles than 2 years prior, but it was just a lot of that same workman-like NXT that I remembered, working on, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I
it's
think the
it's
template
very
was still there.
yeah, and it's a very sort of it's I used the word efficient and tidy earlier, and that's how I would describe it. I don't think you see a ton of stuff on this TV that you kind of go, "Wow, that was groundbreaking," right? You don't see a bunch of stuff where it's like, "Man, that was a just incredible innovation creatively," but it's all very steady. It knows where it wants to go, and it's very effective, I think, in that regard. I
And
should
that's the
note. Go
real
for it, man.
quick, that's the
Yeah,
beauty of what NXT was and maybe is now. Like, I'm not too sure, but these guys and girls work together all the time. Like, everyone had to be in class 5 days a week. Like, now top people, I'm told, don't. That might be wrong. Don't judge me if it's wrong. But like, there were 60 people in developmental, and you were going to see the same 60 faces every day. Like, okay, some coaches would come in and out. Like Ricky Steamboat would leave, Mercury would show up, or Norman Smiley would leave, and someone else would come in, Dr. Tom. So like, you'd have all these coaches. You'd have. I mean, I was there all damn day. So like, I remember I tried to leave at 5 once and got summarily chastised. Do you like your job? I'm like, oh my god. Like, I was done with work. I left at 5. Everyone else was here for 3 hours. But anyway, so. I, don't get me started. But anyway, so like there were certain people that were just motherfuckers to deal with. But anyway, other people were just wonderful. But some people just, oh, God bless them. But anyway, so there was a lot of pressure that he was on. I swear to God, you don't understand. I was like such a little stress ball. I am now also, but at the time, even more so. Because again, it was like Dr. Tom said, your job is to keep your job. Like there wasn't a lifetime NXT or developmental deal. Like everybody was under the gun. Your next bad match, you might be gone the next week. And that went for the office employees too. So you tried to keep your shit together. But you know, I don't even know where I went on that rant, but
it
it
was a
was
good rant.
crazy,
It
Joe.
was a good
Yeah,
rant. It was a good rant.
it was crazy, Joe. It was
Yeah.
crazy. We all worked real hard. And again, like I said, no, here it was. The guys and the girls all were constantly together. We had to go on the weekends during the Summer Slamorama tour. That was usually 3 to 4 shows a weekend in the heat in the summer, and we all showed up. We had to be in that building by 3 or 4. We had to put that damn ring up. We had to get Steve Kerr's concession stand set up. We had to get like it was such a team effort. But these people were working with each other. You know what I mean? They were constantly in the ring. Like the Ascension before they debuted. I just remember, they'd be in the ring with them working on their double team moves and working on their combos and working on different stuff they were going to do. So, like you said, a lot of the punches, the in betweens, it's all very clean. And I really enjoy watching it. Like I enjoy it more watching it now than I did while I was
Yep.
involved. It's weird because I've been watching a lot of '80s wrestling. So even though I was Captain Ring of Honor, PWG, and Dragon Gate for all those years, like now I like it to be pulled back a little bit. I like things to breathe. I like the very basic stuff to look good. And you're gonna hit a move and someone isn't gonna pop back up like it didn't happen. Like now I like that. I'm not saying it's wrong if you don't like
Right.
that. Like if you like what you like, awesome. Because I'm the same where I will change my taste in wrestling on a dime anyway. But currently, I do enjoy things settling and things meaning a lot. And these NXT shows, they all meant a lot. At least from 2013 to 15 that I've seen here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it goes without saying, but it's something we talk about a lot on this platform. It's I think, normal to actually allow your taste to evolve and change and enjoy that without just discarding what you used to like, right? You can still like the stuff you used to enjoy. It's just, I think that's part of the fun of it, right? Because it also allows for discovery, I think, where you're watching more different things and going back and checking out different stuff. So I always like that. I remember there was a moment on a recent Center Stage Chronicles. I think when you talk about I think it was Grand American Bash, I believe. And I think your favorite match was the El Gigante match. I want to I want to say, and you were like,
Oh,
it wouldn't have
no.
been that 10 years ago, but that's, that's the way it is
Yes, the
sometimes.
Elegante six-man at the Great
Yes,
American Bash
that's right.
1990 is a very good match to you to watch. How to showcase, you showcase someone special in a match, and Arn and Barry and who was the other horseman at the time? Jeez, I'm gonna get mad at myself. I can't remember this. Arn, Barry, and
Sid?
who? There you go. Thank you. I love how you're picking up my slack here. Yes, Arn, Barry, and Sid showcased Elegante, who was teaming up with the Junkyard Dog and Paul Orndorff. But again, yeah, I mean, we all change our opinions and stuff. And my whole thing is, Joe, when I was a kid, Global was on ESPN, and damn it, it wasn't as good as WCW and the NWA, but it was wrestling, so I watched it. So it's like that's kind of my
Exactly.
take on it, where it's just like it's wrestling, and different people are gonna have different philosophies, and it is what it is, and that's more of
It
a
is.
management problem to have, I suppose, than anything else. It shouldn't be really a fan problem, but I guess the way we consume wrestling has somewhat changed.
It's a little weird, but I can tell the performance center PTSD kicked in for a second because Rob Naylor forgetting Sid that's a one time moment. That'll never happen again. That was history in your
Yeah,
book.
I'm sorry, Sid Udi. He's my
Yeah,
favorite. He is the Lord and the Master and the ruler of the world. Some said so. Yeah, he's
he was,
amazing.
he was indeed. I'm intrigued now that we kind of get more specifically into this time frame because. As you can tell, folks, there's a million ways we could take this, right? And so, as we trend
We don't
towards
even need a
December 20,
topic, Joe. We could
oh,
be
it's
on here for
bad.
six
Yeah, it's bad.
hours even without the topic. Yeah.
I had a feeling it would be that way, but as I mentioned earlier, we entered the StreamYard and Rob and I just started doing the show, and I went, "Oh, well, I guess we should probably wait, right?" I mean, I started reviewing
Yeah.
matches, but nonetheless, December 2015, roughly, where would you be at? Are you doing like stuff with Evolve at that point? Where are you up to in December 15?
Probably. I,
Yeah,
I I was out of wrestling for a little bit, and then I started doing ring announcing and just odd stuff like that when I would be in Florida. So yeah, that would probably be about it. So I was obviously still loosely paying attention.
right.
So it was that I was never not paying attention to what was going on. I just probably hadn't seen a lot of these TV shows or pay-per-views. I would probably see like the big matches every now and then.
Yeah, that makes sense. I should know.
Like
I
again, real
mentioned,
quick, Joe, I could
yes,
tell
please.
you who won the Central States title from Rufus R. Jones in 1986, but I couldn't tell you jack shit of nothing about 2000 like 14 to 2020. Even when I got hired for WWE, like product knowledge is your strong suit. I'm like, oh, thank you. I couldn't have told you the last three WWE champions in 2011 when I got hired. I assure you, I couldn't because I didn't want. I remember. I know I tell this story often, but like I remember Mark Henry crushed Tyson Kidd like the week after he got a push with Jackson Andrews, and I just remember that was like I just was like, man, fuck this. I was just done watching WWE for a long time after that because I was just like, fucking hate this shit.
You drew the line.
I was like a modern day like podcaster. I was just freaking the fuck out over this in 2009 or 10. I don't know what happened to me. I've calmed down considerably over the years, but I don't know. I was just so angry about it. So like I would keep up with certain people were doing, but I just remember being such because I'm like, oh man, they're gonna do HPK and Diesel with TJ Wilson and Jackson Andrews, and then like it was like a 1 week experiment. He got defeated by Mark Henry, and I think Jackson Andrews even got his ass kicked. So I was like, oh man. I just remember being very upset about that. So I just kind of stopped watching WWE for a while there, and I was like, all right.
I didn't expect us to go there. That was
Yeah,
an
that was a real thing.
impressive
And then,
detour.
y-
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Then, developmental happened. And I was like, all right. So that was another thing. I remember I got in trouble because I didn't know that, oh my God. T from the MFTs now. What's
Yeah.
T's name?
Tongaloa. Tongaloa.
Tongaloa
Yeah.
is a beautiful human being. I love him to death.
Yep.
And like I forget what his NXT name was right now, but he got called up to the main roster over a weekend randomly and they put him on a bicycle and he was going out. I forget what but
Wasn't
he was on
he?
there.
Danny Marlowe in developmental?
He was
Maybe?
Donnie Marlowe, and him and
There
CJ
we go.
Parker were the tag team champions. And
Wow.
then over the weekend, it all changed. I remember coming in and I put Donnie Marlowe on my weekly list to send to Hunter and his assistant and everyone else. And I get it immediately. What is wrong with you? I don't know what I do. And he's like, Donnie Marlowe is no longer a superstar in FCW. He is now whatever his new name is in the
Camacho.
WW. Yeah, he is now Camacho. Do you not watch our product? I go, motherfucker, I'm here every fucking day, 24/7, with a million of his students calling me their own. I go, no, I didn't see it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do a book
Uh,
report on fucking Raw. Like, I was just so upset. But, like, and I didn't say that because I'm a pussy, but I'm thinking it the whole time. So I'm like, oh my God. Like, is there a reason I just get chastised for breathing every second? Because again, it was just like I didn't know, and T wouldn't have minded. He'd be like, "That's all good, Rob." But no, oh my God, I just remember bloody hell. I just remember being like, "Mother, I can't believe I'm just getting chewed out over something inconsequential to me." Like, granted, I probably should have known one of our FCW superstars was on Raw, but it was a last second decision. No one told me in the office, so I didn't know. But anyway, needless to say, stuff like that would happen quite often, and I would just the one day the guy came in wearing like he had the one wrestler had like green trunks, and they're like, well, we need him in blue for the tryout that we're gonna tape for the office. I don't have a fucking seamstress here. What are we doing? Like, do I go down to like what do we? It's not my problem. It's your problem, Rob. You figure it out. I'm like, oh my God, like so much stuff like that. Again, I probably took years off my life, stress wise, because like I don't know what to do. One time someone forgot a bell. Can you imagine that? And that happened at Evolve too, by the way. But like I just remember the sheer horror to the point I was like, can we have two bells? Because I don't want to forget one bell. I want a
backup
backup bell.
bell. Yeah,
So these
backup bell.
and that was another one too. Like it was my job to teach like stage handlers how to ring the bell, which is an actual thing, by the way. You got to ring the bell a certain way on the
I'm
side of it.
sure.
So I remember just someone rang the bell wrong, and I just Naylor, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, what now? Like, you hear that bell? I go, apparently not. They rang the bell wrong. I'm like, yeah, I'm really sorry about that. Are we really? There's probably other problems in the world right now. Is this a real thing? So yeah, that was another one. But needless to say, I did enjoy my time there. I'm just kind of having fun going over some of these little hiccups we had over the
Oh,
years because
absolutely.
they were
Absolutely.
plentiful. Uh,
I can imagine. I really can. The chat is just our live chat is just enthralled by the towels here. Just having a
yeah.
wonderful time as you work through these
Oh,
memories. It's
thank you. I appreciate the live chat. But yeah, I just it was, and the Dream was a beautiful person. But like when I first got there, he was quite intimidating too, because he's
of
Dusty
course.
Rhodes. You got to, I'm Elvis in this industry, baby. You got to win him over. And again, at first, it was cold, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be rough. This is my hero. But over time, once I stop fucking up, eventually, Robbie baby, what's going on? You got my morning report. You got Prince queued up. I need to hit Purple Rain. It's 9:30 in the morning. We need Footloose and Purple Rain because we play Footloose. He liked those songs Footloose, so I would cue that up. And like there'd be a practice going on, and like the moss like, why is Footloose blaring? I'm trying to run a practice, and like Footloose, and Dusty wanted it, and that's if Dusty was upset, everyone else was gonna have a way worse day. So I was the person who made sure Dusty was happy. So Footloose played, Purple Rain played, and everyone was happy. Sometimes ZZ Top just got paid was another big one of him. I remember one time he walked in, he's like, Robbie, did you watch the movie Mud with Matthew McConaughey? I'm like, I'm sorry, Dream. I seem to work here 24/7. I missed that one. He's like, Robbie, it is your duty to watch Mud. It's like, how are you going to be a creator, a writer, a storyteller if you haven't watched some of the great cinema of our time? I'm like, all right, Dream, I still haven't watched Mud. I'm sorry, Dream Above, but I still haven't watched that movie. Apparently, it was really good. But there'd be things like that, or the Ascension debuted, and Dream walks in. He's like, Robbie, I want you to carry this DVD, The Ascension, with you at all times. If anyone from the office walks into this facility, you need to hand it to them and tell them the future. He goes, I created it. He goes, True Blood. There's TV now about this. I'm like, I think True Blood was for this created True Blood. I'm like, yes, it did, Dream. And then it created True Blood. He walk in, hey, did you walk? He's like, did you watch Game of Thorns? I'm like, Game of Thorns. I'm like, I don't think I've seen that one, Dream. So he would. He was an avid HBO watcher, but I was not watching anything, Joe. I was so immersed in just FCW developmental life. We had usually 2 house shows per Sundays was a day of rest, but Sundays was also if there was any kind of stuff with talent, they all had my number and they'd call me and I'd try to rectify some things. But yeah, man, it was a lot, man. And again, fun, but
Yeah.
could be stressful. So
Yeah.
when they got to full sale, not full sale, when they got to the performance center,
Hmm.
many more office employees, my friends. I'm just saying, God bless them. But it was usually Dr. Tom, myself, Chris Russo, then Dr. Tom, myself, Byron Saxton. Then it was Byron Saxton, myself, Bill DeMont. Yeah, and that was the office. It's
Yeah.
like there were other people that were in and out for sure. Like all the trainers and the producers. Hell yeah, man. They sculpted the whole next generation. But when it came down to the office, the another great story. We can just ditch the TV taping, Joe. It's good. We're
Yeah,
having
it's
a ball
fine.
here.
We got time. Don't worry
So
about it. Go for it.
another great story is Bill DeMott's like, all right, we're gonna these DVDs, Rob, they're amazing, but we need some from our own company. I'm like, oh, cool. So then people up in WWE Connecticut, they're like, we'll make comps of everyone for our talent. So it's like the best of Adrian Adonis. I'm like, oh, that's cool. You're gonna use the library and we're gonna make DVDs for our talent of Adrian Adonis, him and Gagne, him and all these AWA match, Jim Brunzell. It's like they had like Adrian Adonis against Uncle Elmer as one of the 3 matches to study. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? But so there was like 80 DVDs, 80 best of DVDs, best of Sherry Martel, best of Adrian Adonis, best of Rick Rude, best of Randy's, all this stuff. Well, there were 80 DVDs, and every student or talent got a booklet. So out of those 80 DVDs, they had to be burned. So there had to be 65 of those 80 DVDs burned. And it's like, well, we got a deadline by October, and it's like it's July now. Let's get it done by August. That was what Bill said. You gotta show 'em we care. So like me and Chris Russo like lived in that building, burning fucking DVDs like it was like Death Valley Driver in the 2000s, like just to make all these people DVDs. And like most of them just threw them the fuck away. I later found out, which infuriates me, by the way, because like it's like I remember even the DVDs that I brought to the company when I first got there, like all the good DVDs that people had. I remember it was this big spindle under my desk in the Dreams office, and like I had heard for years that it had gone away and just got thrown out. And then, well, yeah, 1 year ago today, at Edge and FTR's training school, I talked to Dave Harwood, and I'm like, man, it's too bad that all those DVDs are gone. He goes, no, brother, I got them. You got them. So like, he was smart enough to bogart all like those best of Barry Windham and Dick Murdoch and Dangerous Alliance DVDs. God bless you, Dave Harwood. He cared. But ironically, me and him kind of got in a little shouting match in 2013. 'Cause I remember Hunter's assistant came in and was talking to everyone, and he's like, "Rob, do you have anything to say?" I go, "Yeah, I'm gonna finally say something." I go, "We've got all these DVDs of some of the greats of all time," and I go, "I don't think anyone ever watches them." And
Fighting
Dave puts his
words.
hand up. Dave's like, I came in there last week to get one of them DVDs, and you told me you were busy and couldn't do Fit Finley for me. Oh my God, I was furious in front of like Hunter's guy. So I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, backward burial of me of all time. Because he was right. I was too busy, but I was like, oh, the day I opened my mouth to say people should be watching more of these old school DVDs, right back at me,
Oh.
Joe. So yeah.
And you said it was a Fit Finley tape he was in
Sure
pursuit of?
was. He
Of
loves some
course.
Fit Finley. Yeah, of course. So
Of
he
course.
got it. But I'm glad he's got all those old DVDs. But yeah, those
Yeah.
spindles, if anyone's out there from old school NXT and you've got your DVD spindle, or if you even still got a DVD player, I appreciate you because
Yeah. Physical media, brother. Absolutely.
it's a lot of work.
I should know. We have
Yes.
3 TVs here, but the fourth was actually a best of, which obviously for our purpose isn't relevant. But one thing I found interesting when I looked at what they showed. They actually showed Owens beating Cena on the main roster, which I think speaks to. We talk a lot about kind of NXT on this show. We talk a lot about NXT's explosion. I think because when you're focusing on NXT itself, it's easy to forget that was huge for the brand NXT. Owens going up as NXT champion, beating John Cena was like a happening, right? And I think that being on the best of speaks to that. So
Joe, real quick, there were
yes,
4 moments, and I'm not going to get into details of why.
mm-hmm.
There were 4 moments, in my opinion, that took NXT from fun regional developmental to like,
Okay,
okay, it's about to get crazy. The TV taping after I left, they put Claudio and Generico in a match, and they'd have prior matches that I was there for, but they had Cesaro and Zayn 2 out of 3 falls, I believe it was.
mm-hmm.
That match, there were so many important people at that taping in July 2013 that the record stopped.
Yeah,
And that match made everyone look at developmental and how people were being trained and indie style. It's not about the moves, it's about what's in between them. That kind of was the time where everyone just was like, oh, wait a minute. This got over more than anything we've ever done in that building. And these two guys just set it off. That was a big one.
mm-hmm.
Kevin Owens' debut match, which I was long gone at this point, but I got the stories immediately.
I'm
His
sure.
debut match over Juice,
Yep.
there was a moment there. Well, maybe this story's out, but like there was a moment there where he was told not to do something. He did it anyway, and he went above everyone and went to the biggest person he could talk to, and he did it, and he got over. It worked. He was the man. That was another big one. Him and John Cena.
Yeah.
Cena wrestled his match. Like it, Cena, props to him. He wrestled like a PWG match in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another one where I just remember calling people and be like, "Do you see this? Like this, it's all changing, and whether it's for better or worse, who knows? But like it was just like that indie style. Like I remember one of my friends came in and immediately he worked one of his matches that I would have seen in Ring of Honor, and one of the coaches was like, "Look at this shit. You just don't know how to work. He doesn't do anything. Well, look at it. He don't know what he's doing." And I'm like, "Man, this is all like I don't. I'm not saying this person was wrong, but I'm just like, well, what is he supposed to do? Like he's
Yeah.
getting over with the fans he's working in front of, but he's not maybe working a template that this producer wanted to see." And I just remember it was like, we got to get rid of all of his shitty indie habits. And I think at some point, the quote, shitty indie habits wasn't a thing ever mentioned again. I think they encouraged shitty indie habits at some point, and I say that with quotes, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, like that John Cena, Kevin Owens match, what a triumph for wrestling. Where Kevin Owens, he won that one, right? Pop up power
Yeah.
bomb, he wins. Yeah,
Clean
he
in the middle.
wins
Yeah. Yeah.
emphatically. And like, Cena left. He said, "Here, this is for the rest of this is for Javon Evans and everyone else. Take the mantle, go." Kind of started 10 years earlier too.
I agree.
I mean, might have started with Punk too. Like when he wrestled Punk, and Punk
Mm-hmm.
obviously was a made man after the Cena feud.
Brian
But
too, right? Brian at SummerSlam, he put over clean too. So yeah, it
hell
is
yeah,
interesting.
Busaiku knee, yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's all of that. But
So fair to say
what a
your
trip.
fourth moment would have been Bailey and Sasha, I presume, right? Would be the fourth moment there for
It would
NXT.
have been all. It would have been that. It would have been Dusty calling me after Charlotte wrestled Natty at one of the takeovers. Robin, baby, greatest women's match of all time. I'm like, you haven't seen Manami Toyota, but I was like, all right, that's fine. I did not say that, but yes, it is. I agree. And so he was so proud, and the dream pushed for the girls to be featured. We had a queen title, we had a women's or divas title. I mean, again, it was just Sasha and Bailey though punctuated everything. And I've
Yeah.
told Bailey and Sasha this. I've told them like I didn't understand why y'all when everyone was like they need the main event. I'm like, oh, well, Kevin Owens is wrestling Finn Balor in a ladder match. Like that's got to be the main event. They're my friends. I've seen them. I that match is one of my favorite matches, not just of that year, of all time. And think about
Yes.
how much fucking wrestling I've watched. That match brings me such happiness. I am so proud of each one of them because that was more than just a match for the brand. That was a match for the wrestling industry. It just I'm not gonna say it did. It changed everything. I feel
Yeah.
like I don't want to be hyperbolic, but I do feel that match just changed everything. I think there's a before and after with that match, and it should have headlines. I was wrong. I'm
Right.
not infallible, but like it should have. And you know what? Maybe it shouldn't have because I think it not headlining, they had something to prove. They said, "Eat this," and they went out there and they just tore the house down. And good on them because that was another one because then you've got Becky, you've got Charlotte, you've got Bales, and you've got Sasha, and they're just like the standard bearers for the in ring action. You still had Emma, you had Paige, like you had even back in the Eva Lise, I remember Eva Lise and Paige did a code red on a show on a show like right outside Tampa. And I like screeched from behind the scenes. I got chastised and yelled at by somebody that day because I was so excited to see like a cool move on a house show on NXT where cool moves were not banned or anything, but they just weren't done because you're learning your
Frowned upon.
basics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like them doing that, I just remember someone messing with me over. Oh, look at Rob over there, code red. Like, but that was cool. So again, I give props to them and everyone for just working together and raising the bar. And
Yeah.
everyone got over, Joe. Everyone got over.
Oh,
Like from Finn
it shows,
Balor.
dude. That last show we watched, the reactions the guys got on that London TV, like the Vaudevillains getting the big Road Warrior pop to start the show. It's like, man, it was wild, wasn't it? Wild.
It
Absolutely.
reminds me. I don't think. Would you agree with this? Like late '90s WWF. Remember, like they had everybody over.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Godfather would come out. It's like the Road Warriors in '86. Val Venus would come out. It's like the Road Warriors. And I'm like, everyone was over.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like NXT kind of had that happening at this time, where like the fans were not just rooting for the great quality of wrestling; they were rooting for all the characters and all their wrestlers. So, and sometimes it's weird, Joe, because you would think maybe fans at Full Sail would be like, "Oh, well, now they're going everywhere. They're not just ours anymore." But they didn't really react like that. You know what I mean? They kind of were
Mm.
like, "Yeah, our people made good, and they're going on and doing bigger things, and good on them." Like I remember when we brought the Shield back after they debuted, and we brought Bray back after him and Brody and Rowan debuted. And it was like a big homecoming. It's like this is cool. Like this is like you graduated from high school and you're coming back to visit, and everyone you're just so over. So it was
it's
good.
it's wild. Again, forget the format, but while we're talking about Bailey and Sasha, because you can't do a 2015 NXT show without talking about it, and we had a moment on this platform. We did a couple watch-alongs for those matches, and it was a late night, as it often is on the late night Grin, fittingly, and we were watching the Iron Woman, the rematch, right? And I had this moment where I kind of, when you get mad at like you almost build the straw man because you saw one person say it and you feel the need to vent about it. This got me at this particular moment.
Yeah.
There was a moment in time, a few years after those matches, where it was like there was an attempt to pretend that it was only great because of like we hadn't seen that stuff in the States. And I had this, it just for a moment it hit me and I was rewatching, I was like, that was the biggest load of bullshit ever, dude. Those matches are still, you still get chills watching them. Still, they would still be match of the year, match of the decade contenders to this. I don't care how much we see in the next 20, 30 years. You'll never outgrow that. Like the Bailey Sasha matches, I think Sasha and Becky, too, for that matter, is right there with it. But yeah, it just always, I actually think now it's such a chronicle piece of history. People remember the moments. They don't. The actual match is just sublime. I mean, it's one of the greats. Absolutely.
Yeah, the Brooklyn match, like I see people debate the Brooklyn in a 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
I like the Brooklyn. Here's why. The crowd, obviously, as soon as Mercedes hits the Rey Mysterio, Juventud Guerrera, John Finnegan over the top rope plancha, it's like that's the moment where that fans was like, we're really excited to see this. Like, oh my God, what is happening?
Chills,
And
dude. Yeah.
and then the viciousness going after the hand. And when she's kicking her fucking hand when she's in the submission, like it was just so vicious and it was like that gear change. I remember Mercedes was really finding her way in the early time at FCW and NXT. And I just remember she'd be on these house shows And there was a moment where she was in a match, and one of her gear changes was she took something, and not like the Lawler pulled the strap down thing, but she just was like, "Oh hell no!" And she bobbed her head a little bit, and she just started fucking wailing with over like Pillman style chops on the opponent. And I remember this small building just went fucking bananas. I just remember afterwards talking to her and be like, "You maybe need to stick with that because that's like such a fun thing that just took the match from one place to like really like that snap moment. Like, oh shit, all right, here we go." And I remember she got pulled aside. Like, never do that again. You said the word of hell. HE double hockey sticks down. So like, I don't think she did it anymore. But I just remember that. But that whole match had stuff like that in it, though. And Bailey is just. I remember even at the time when I was long gone, I was just like, Bailey and Sami Zayn are the best baby faces in the wrestling business. They were just unbelievable. And people love Bailey. In that moment where Bailey takes out the bow of her hair and just whips it, and then she hits the belly to belly. Come on, man. There's
Oh,
just so many intangibles in that match. And I saw, like, when I saw Pam recently behind the scenes, I'd seen her a couple times the last couple of years, but I was just like, man, y'all really did something with that, man.
yeah.
And she had said like, oh, I want to maybe do something special this year, to commemorate that. And I believe that's what the Lodestone thing was. But, good for her, good for Mercedes. They did it. There's like a documentary on it that I know was on WWE. I don't know what network it's even on anymore, but that was very good. And that's the one thing. I mean, when I left, I was like, all right, I'm sad I'm leaving, but I'm not moving to Connecticut, so I'm just going to go away now. And I just remember that's the one thing I've told him this. I wish I was in the building for that match because that just what a crescendo! Like for these two girls to get there and all the uncertainty, and you show up and it's just like, oh God, what are we gonna do? Is this gonna work out? Like people are getting fired. Are we getting over? We're not really featured as attractions on the show, and then they just stuck it out. They worked, and they fucking did it. So good for them, man.
And while we're off the rails, it should be said, how great is it when you think about the history of American women's wrestling? We're doing this 10 years later. Look at where both of them are still at. Look at where a lot of their peers are still out. I mean, that's really cool, right? The longevity of that crop compared to what, unfortunately, the year or two before them. I just think that's awesome. I mean, it goes without saying with Mercedes. Mercedes is out, obviously, and she's been here, there, and everywhere and won a million titles and a million great matches. But Bailey, in a very Bailey understated fashion, I mean, the work with Lyra Valkyria, I mean, she's had a terrific year. 10 years removed from Brooklyn, so they're still awesome and they're still doing the thing here 10 years later. It's wonderful to see. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's one of those things like, okay, well, the Briscoes and the Amazing Red and, a lot of the low key, a lot of these wrestlers from the early 2000s, they were fans and they got Michinoku Pro tapes and they got All Japan tapes and they became wrestlers. And like, I didn't know a lot of this until way after the fact, unfortunately, with Mercedes, but like, she had told me later, like, she was on the boards, like downloading mega upload files of Japanese matches. Like I love that. Like I
Yeah.
love that. Like she was doing all the stuff we were doing. You know what I mean? She liked fucking she loved wrestling, and it's like you gotta appreciate that.
Of
That's like
course.
and you don't need to be an obsessed fanatic for wrestling because I NXT changed that for me too. Before I got down there, oh, you need to love this business, whatever. Nah, man, you could come in there daisy fresh. Like Angelo Dawkins is one of my favorite human beings. He didn't give a fuck about pro. Like he came in, yo, man, I like gummy worms and like, yeah, man, I like to drink tang. Like he was amazing. And like Dream's like, you need to go on a car ride with this motherfucker because he got to learn about Big Red Ernie Ladd. I'm like, all right, so we go on these car rides. And like Dawkins would just be like, what? Like he wasn't that into it. But I'm like,
Yeah.
he's got that background, Jerry Briscoe. He's a wrestler. Like, come on, Dawkins. And like when Dawkins, I've always, and I think I've told him this. I think he had so many people. Think about if you're Daisy Fresh to wrestling and you don't know what's right or wrong, and you've got Terry Taylor and Ricky Steamboat and Joey Mercury, and you've got Michael Hayes, and you've got Norman. You've got all these great teachers, and they're all telling you their way to. How many of us agree on fucking anything, even as fans, right?
Yeah.
Like, imagine being a wrestler and having all these people who think that they know the right way. he was bound to like pull his hair out. So then when he went down to Evolve and then he started training with TJ and Natty, oh my God, bless TJ and Natty, because he put it all together there.
He's
He put it
so
all
good now,
together
dude.
there.
So
He's
good.
fucking awesome. And that's one that I was wrong about too, because I fucking loved him as a human being. I didn't think he really cared about wrestling. He
Yeah.
cares so much about wrestling. I just feel he was being pulled so many different ways on what the right way to wrestle is that when he finally just did it his way and he worked with Tej, I just did it. And that's a beautiful thing to working in developmental too. When you see that moment where people put it all together and it's like, fuck yeah, there you go. You're getting it. And that's it's very rewarding. Even for me who wasn't a coach or anything. Like when I
Yeah.
just saw people get excited about wrestling or be like, okay, well, I want to learn about this or come up with a new comeback or modify something that they were told to something else. Like it's very cool, and you know how it is. Wrestling fans can be ruthless. I could be I was on the message boards in the 2000s. We were
Mm-hmm.
all fucking ruthless, but like, I think everyone now we see everything all the time at all moments, so it's
Yep.
so easy to be hypercritical, and you got to remember it's developmental as well. You know, so it's
Yeah.
like you're the youth of America, you're the youth of. I feel like an asshole. You're not American,
That's a
but you know
serious
you were the
accusation.
I'm very sorry for deeming you an American. I apologize vehemently. I would never do that to you, Joe. I love you. But no, you're the youth, Joe.
Yeah.
So, like, you might not remember this, but once upon a time, if you were going to get a Rick Blade VHS in the mail, when you got that tape, you paid $25 for it. You were going to enjoy it. He was going to miss all the moves in the world. He was going to land off a fucking Ryder truck onto the ground. It didn't matter. You're like, Rick Blade. Hell yeah. I'm enjoying this. You might not have really been enjoying it, but you paid for it. So you cared. Now everybody can see everything minutes after it happens for free if you didn't see it live. So I think it's a little more easy to be a little hypercritical. So I just like to say in a peaceful kind of way, try to have a better appreciation. This is a
Yeah.
hard fucking thing. People have lost their careers doing this. Like, just try to appreciate it a little more. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all.
I agree
Sorry.
completely.
Sorry, I'll get
And
off this soapbox even though I like being
you're
taller
good.
on it.
And I have figured out a way we're going to return to this format here in a way that somewhat makes sense. Get ready for this, Rob. Here's where I'm going.
Thank you.
You have your 4 moments. I would humbly, as I often do, suggest we talk about Samoa Joe a little bit. So he's not maybe the 5th moment, but I will say, we often, and we're all guilty of this, right? When we talk about the influx of talent, we do somewhat lump Joe because he's he's probably the greatest Ring of Honor champion. I'm going to take probably out. He's the greatest Ring of Honor champion to me. We put him on that list with a Kevin, a Sami, a Neville, a Balor, whoever. But I think one thing that I was reminded of watching these month by month, Joe's television exposure before NXT with TNA and the years he had on TNA, good and bad, I think was really big for NXT being seen as like a national operation. I truly believe that. Now, the irony to that is, I think it takes a while for his run to get rolling, and I think we actually got to see a little bit of that here when it's starting to really click. But what do you make of that theory, Rob? I'm on to say I think Joe meant a lot for its like drawing power, if you will, or its notoriety nationally. What do you think?
100%. You said his name earlier with everyone else, and I was thinking,
Yeah.
But here's why you were right. I was at his debut. Now, I don't know why I went to it, but I was there. I think I was told he was there.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it. And I'm not saying because, Joe NXT would never, but I'm just saying that I know, I just was like, I don't think Joe's going to go to WWE, right? But I just remember Stephanie McMahon was in the front row, I believe. Because it was one of those things, look at who's in the seats, and she was there. And he walked out. Joe, that building, I've been in that building for years. That was the loudest I've ever heard that building. It was
Yeah.
fucking crazy. And he walked out and he had like the bootleg. Burr, burr, burr. So I was like, okay. And I was just like, holy fuck, Samoa Joe's in NXT, right? And you're talking to someone who bought the 0-1 tapes in 2001 and 2 to watch his matches. I drove from Shippensburg, Pennsylvania when I was living near college. I drove out to Philly to see him wrestle Low Key in his Ring of Honor debut. I saw most of his entire ROH title reign in the Philly, New Jersey, New York area. Him and Kobashi, I was there, changed my life. Like amazing moments, right? I just remember thinking, my God, this guy. I can't believe I'm living in a timeline where I get to see this wrestler wrestle live. I drove out to Dayton, Ohio from Pennsylvania to see him and Punk go an hour, right? Like I loved Samoa Joe, right? I didn't watch NWA TNA too much, Joe. I'm not against it. I'm not out here like, oh, you fucking dipshits that want. No, I'm not. I didn't watch it that much. I think I didn't watch it that much because I knew I loved Ring of Honor, and I just was like, whatever's on there, it probably isn't going to be as much as I enjoy Ring of Honor. So I just didn't watch it. I've gone back and watched a lot of it, and I thoroughly enjoy a lot of it. So it's not even coming from, oh, my nose is in the air.
Right.
I like that. But like, Joe and AJ Styles in TNA, they've had numerous great matches, but there's one in particular, which of course the date will miss me, but like there's one that's just like, oh my fucking God, it's an amazing match.
Yes.
The triple threat match with Daniels, obviously. Like he did so much cool shit, and now he's gonna be in NXT. And I was just so fucking happy. And I don't know Samoa Joe. Like I've been around wrestling and wrestlers, and I've met him maybe once or twice, but he's just someone I will always support and be a fan of from afar and just be happy when he's doing good. Because I just remember how he made me feel as a fan. Like he was just like this is a really fucked up comparison, but he was like my Bruno Sammartino on the Indies.
Yeah.
He was just the guy who was like the Dragon Slayer, who was the top of the heap, and he was gonna wrestle everybody and he was gonna elevate everybody. And we're all going to come around for the ride. And then when he lost the belt, he was the former champion top dog who would come in for special appearances and slay the dragons or have the big mega matches with whomever. And it's really, really cool that he got to be part of this too. And that all the people from the indies got to be part of it. You know what I mean? Like there was a time when it was like, if you were an indie guy, I remember 2005 when I got the Joe Kobashi tape. I'm just like, this guy will never be on WWE. He won't ever be. He just won't. He's our guy, and he's crushing it. But the way he's not going to wrestle Batista and Randy Orton and I didn't think he could because of how wrestling was structured at the time. And like for him to do all that now, you know what I mean? He wrestled Brock Lesnar, he wrestled John Cena on a house show. He did all this awesome shit. And you don't need to do that to be like made, but like it's cool that he did it his way. He worked for Zero One, he worked for Ring of Honor, he worked for PWG, he worked for Noah, he worked for TNA, he did a bunch of shots for IWC out in Pittsburgh. Shout out to Norm Connors. He did all these fun things. And then he got to go to WB on his own accord. He made it through developmental. He got to the main roster. He was a coach behind the scenes for developmental, if I'm not mistaken. He did all these cool things, and now he's kicking ass in AEW.
Yeah.
Good
Wild.
for you, Samoa Joe. It's a long way for me to. Good for you, Samoa Joe.
Oh, co-signed. Well, it's always got time for that, Rob.
Like I know you love Samoa Joe. That's why I felt giving you this impassioned speech about Samoa Joe. So.
Very, very nice.
The Dutch Brothers coffee is kicking in, guys. It's really exciting to talk about Samoa Joe. So
it always
now's
is
a better time than ever.
The funny part that I've realized, younger fans, the youth of not America, the youth. We'll keep it. We don't do that again. But younger fans, one thing that's interesting, and because you didn't watch a lot of TNA, I'm sure you were aware of this perception. This spell of Joe's career, like this Finn program, was at the time seen as like he's proven the naysayers wrong, bro. He's still got something left, and now it's like fuck, he's the world champion 10 years later. I mean, it's insane, right? It's just the story goes on with these guys. They're remarkable.
Dude, it's insane. Since I'm a maniac, I watched Death Before Dishonor 2003 in a fast-forwarded fashion, and there was a match with Crazy K, Joey Matthews, and Jeff Hardy as Will the Wisp. And I'm watching this, and I lived through this. I wasn't at that show, but I was like, God damn, they gave Jeff Hardy a hard time. And he was seen as completely washed in 2003. And like, by the end of the decade, he was back and kicking ass. And now it's another decade later, and he's had good performance. It's just like, never write anyone off. And we all get older. We all might not have the abilities and skills, but it's like, think about AJ Styles or Kenny Omega or Ricochet. A lot of these super athletic guys who just work that style. And sometimes you work that style, and damn it, you got 3 good years. Good for you. You had a
Mm-hmm.
good run. These guys are like multiple 20-year plus runs.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I don't know what they're doing, but good for their health, or
Yeah.
they're getting that shiatsu massage or anything else. But it's wild, man. 'Cause people are just holding up better than they used to, I feel.
And I think it's a little bit, to be honest, I think when people consider their kind of all time is so difficult, and I avoid talking about it because I'm not educated on it, but when people will compare some of the names you just mentioned to names yesterday, I actually think today's guy's longevity goes a little bit underrated in those conversations. I mean, Roderick Strong's one I always look to. Roderick Strong is, I mean, he's been this way now for 20 plus years. He's like a machine, right? And he just keeps going. It's hard to compare that, I think, to, and don't get me wrong, some of the guys from yesterday had serious longevity too, but there are also some guys, through no fault of their own, they had short runs, but they're like entrenched in history, rightly so.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting to compare.
Yeah, I will also watch some of Glory by Honor 2003 today. And at the very end of the tape, there was a Roderick Strong, Alex Shelley, Josh Daniels, Jimmy Jacobs match. And I was just like, damn, man, I was talking to Roddy on AIM back in 2003. And I'm like, it's 22 years later.
Yeah. He wrestled on Dynamite.
And then I took my Geritol and got my walk around. I'm like, oh my God. And he looks better than ever. He looks so much better now than he did then. And he's not my age, but he's a little younger than me, I'm sure. But like, I just remember being like, wow, man. Like, but look at him. He's another one. And it's just like, when has he ever really had a bad performance? I got to look pretty hard to find one. He's always been consistent. So
he absolutely has. The first TV main event we encounter I think we were going to talk about NXT, but who could possibly care, really? We had a blast, haven't we? And we've talked about everything we need to talk about. So,
yeah.
The aforementioned Samoa Joe, the first TV closes with a match with Tommaso Ciampa, which is, to quote Jim Ross, damn sure physical. They beat the hell out of each other, and you can tell Ciampa is he's relishing the chance to just trade bombs with Joe for 6 to 7 minutes. And the thing we talked about briefly before we went live was, it's interesting how this pops on a TV where guys trading strikes isn't the norm. It's the only time you see it on any of these TVs, and I thought it really stood out as well. What did you make of that TV main event, Rob?
Very good. It seemed like it was, I refer to it as an Edison, New Jersey Ring of Honor main event in the 2000s. It's your B show main event. And again, Tommaso was a guy I saw in Ring of Honor in 2011 with Bob Evans as his manager, if you remember that. I think that was him. Maybe it wasn't him. I don't fucking know. I'm old, guys. But regardless, I remember Tommaso Ciampa one way or the other. I think that was Mike Bennett. Regardless, I remember Tommaso Ciampa. You know what, guys? One man's Tommaso Ciampa, another man's Mike Bennett. But bless them both. They're both very good workman-like wrestlers. And we're live, folks. Tommaso Ciampa is very good. Stop laughing, Joe. He has a wonderful match with Samoa Joe. I thought they did very good. And you're right. The way these shows were structured, the aforementioned production meeting. For Christ's sake, every single producer got with every single other producer, and they made sure. There was one moment in 2013. This is even a little much for me. I remember DeMott was like, all right, on our show on Thursdays, every single match, yell what body part you're going to wear. So like, all right, Bailey and Charlotte, leg, okay, Tion Freeman and shoulder. So like everyone's like what their match was going to be. But like, you don't need to go to that extent, but I do like when things are different enough that it all kind of stands out for being its own thing. So that was my long way of going about saying that. And I'm really sorry to Mike Bennett, Tommaso Ciampa, and Bob Evans as well. Why not?
It'd be a hell of a tag team. I mean, there's always room, maybe there's an idea in there. I don't know. But nonetheless, we have that. And then the second TV, we have the classic, crossover with feuds. We have Joe and Corbin opposite Cruz and Balor. And I thought they did a nice job. Their little short promos you didn't want to immediately ignore the fact that Corbin and Joe had just been feuding, so they did a good job with that. The match isn't nothing expansive. It's a nice little TV main event. Joe gets the win, advances. I was a little bummed at how little, not a ton of promo time, right? And it did, I don't know how you felt, Rob, just kind of dropping in to watch these TVs, but you definitely get the sense, you could see in hindsight, like, this was clearly just the start of their feud, and it would be, of course, but they built the match up nicely without, I think, really putting their foot down, Joe and Balor. What did you make of what you saw of this part of the build?
Yeah, really good. I always just look at it as they got 48 minutes.
Yep.
Like that show
Yep.
is formatted for 48 minutes, and they did the most of what they could. You've got to feature all these different people. You would like to have more time on it, but sometimes you just got to go with a really hit them hard 1 minute or 45-second promo package and just move forward. And I I was happy about it. The one thing I'm coming out of this project with the most is they just really they put these shows together very well. I felt like everything had a purpose, everything breathed, and I felt like they did it really well. So that's the one thing I'll say about all of these shows. All three that I watched were just excellent. They do like a little vignette here and there for like the
Yep.
Drifter or someone else, but the Sami Zayn, he's coming back vignettes. Oh my god, they're great. So that kind of stuff, good. And yeah, I thought they got to it pretty well there, Joe. And they kind of set the table. Like you being there, like you were gonna be there. So you saw these live, I'm sure. So like
Yeah.
you were gonna be there, you had your own level of anticipation. Because again, it's not like they come there all the time.
Right.
So like you had your own level of expectations and anticipation, which is great. But I just thought, for someone just watching the show every
Mhm.
week, I thought they did a good job.
Yeah. The build that I actually thought, and you and I immediately fair accusations of bias, but I actually thought the build that kind of to me exceeded its expectations or kind of outdid its coverage was the tag title build. Um, they did a deal with the Revival, who it always strikes when I rewatch. They're still just Dash and Dawson it. They've not called them Revival yet, which I just think is like a thing people fans have forgotten. They do this interview, Rob, and I'm sure it popped you as much as it did me. The setting and the way it was, it was great. The way it immediately added to FTR. I'm gonna have to say FTR because otherwise I have to adjust too much. But FTR's vibe as this traditional throwback team. Um, I thought that promo, so that sit down interview, was such a great way of like furthering that kind of tonal vibe to what they do. What did you make of their promo here? I thought it was good stuff.
Really liked it. Catchphrase Kings was funny. I like that in that Full Sail building, you had so many fun places to do pre-tapes. You could set up a desk. You could set up a little area to talk. You had like all the cases around to make it look like it was live on the show, even if it might have been taped the day before.
Right.
Like there was a lot of positives to it all. But I thought they really built it well, and I also thought that man, Enzo and I knew Enzo and Big Cass were over. Obviously, I was there when they started, but they really commanded a lot of love from the crowd. I actually had forgotten how much. So
Yeah.
it was really good. Fantastic promos on both sides from the shows I watched.
And one thing I love that I do think is actually a little bit lost now. This whole thing is built on, what the revival did to Enzo and Cass. Enzo and Cass had a different demeanor, right? They were mad. They wasn't the same guys that we'd seen previously. I'd almost, they went so far in that direction it was a little jarring, but I really appreciated they made the effort to change their presentation. Because how often do we see it, right? Guys will, be in a blood feud and they'll be all smiles. And I get it. They want to have their entrance and their presentation. It's very produced. But I love the way that Enzo and Cass adjusted to this program, cut a serious to camera promo in the ring afterwards. They did a terrific job. And we were talking briefly before we went live about that Enzo and Cass TV match. I know it popped you, so feel free to speak on that a little bit more if you would like to, Rob. Go for it, mate.
Yeah, I was just really, really impressed. Like everything Enzo did was real clean, like that
Yep.
Mr. Perfect style, grab the guy by the head, drop kick. Uh, Cass, the big tag when he got in the match was a big deal. Cass was always someone. He was always an obviously giant guy, but I think it took a while for him to figure out he was a giant guy. And by this point, I thought it was quite emphatic that he knew who he was as a wrestler, and he was the heavy for this team, the Neidhart. I know I just compared Enzo to Bret Hart, but he was like the Neidhart of this team. Boy, they're gonna come for me, aren't they? But but he was that same dichotomy. Maybe I'll say the Nikolai to the Iron Sheik. I don't know, but regardless, you've got that dichotomy where it was good. So I liked it. I thought they did a good job with it. And like you said, they were. the in-ring promo is almost a lost art, so it was very cool to see it utilized in the way they did, and for them to be so serious about it. And Big Cass is someone, Big Bill Morrissey. I've been waiting for someone to really use him in the way I'd like to
Yeah.
see for a while. I hope it happens. I think the world of the guy, and he's been through some stuff, and he's really survived, and I really hope he's doing good and wish him the best. But he's someone who went through that system when I was there, before I was there, and he had a shoot fight with who was the guy that won Tough Enough in 2011 or 10? I forget the gentleman's name.
Do you have long hair? Big tall guy?
He
Long
sure
hair?
did.
Josh something? Oh, I forget his name. Yeah,
Oh, it's
I
gonna
know who
drive
you're
me
talking
nuts.
about.
But this guy, he's like, "Yeah, I'm the man." He's like this big woodland creature. But like he was there for a while, and I was there, and they got into it during a match. I remember little Rob just got there, or shortly thereafter, and I'm in charge of ringing the bell and making sure it's all got caught on camera. And like they're like screaming at each other, and the one gives the other a shoot Dino Bravo style side slam driver on his fucking head. And I just remember, I screeched, and I'm high pitched to begin with. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh no! And then they went to the back, and it seemed like they were fighting, and it seemed way worse in my brain. I'm sure they all squashed it eventually, but these two scrapped like you would not believe. And I think the one gentleman was gone shortly thereafter. I'm not saying one thing led to
It's
the other,
Big
but
Andy seems to be the chat's conclusion as to this. Big Andy. Silent
thank you
Rage, Big
guys.
Andy.
There
Yes.
you go. Yeah, silent rage indeed. So yeah, that all happened, and I just remember being like, "Good God!" But yeah, man, I just will never forget. I think Big Andy gave the side slam of doom to poor Cass, and I just remember being like, "Good, what is going on here?"
That's wild.
Yeah, man, that's a real thing that happened. So yeah, that all happened there, and but Big Cass, someone who constantly was doing great creative pitches, like no one could be Xavier Woods. Emma came close. Xavier Woods and Emma were probably the most often in the office pitching things and coming up with ideas. And here's a video of this. What do you think of this character? But Big Cass was always trying to figure out who he was as well. So I'm glad he's figured it out a little bit over the years.
you mentioned, Big Cass, Big Bill being a guy who had the size and was always was trying to figure out how to project how it worked that way. And Nia Jax here is programmed with Bailey, and is an interesting watch in that regard because Nia is. I mean, I mentioned earlier the contrast of you had people that are brand new and like polished pros. In one title program, you have Balor and Joe. And in the women's title program, this is a division in transition, right? 3 of the 4 horsemen have just gone up. They have just brought Asuka in. They have Carmella and Alexa kind of climbing slightly. And Nia Jax has debuted, I believe she debuted 2 months prior to this, on TV anyway. And she obviously didn't have a huge history before that. It was interesting to watch the way they kind of navigated a feud that you could tell they knew they needed to give it a little help, right? Because it's not a natural kind of immediate thing. They used Eva Marie for a little heat in the on the promo front. But what did you make of? We didn't get a ton with Bailey and Nia, but I thought they played it pretty safe, and that was the smart thing to do. And using Eva for heat was a staple of late 2015 NXT. What did you make of the Bailey Nia business we got, Rob?
Thought it was very good, and it was so different than Bailey's prior programs that I thought it worked. And I was one back in the day. Uh, who is the Eva Marie, right?
Yep.
So my last month there, she showed up once a week into the performance center, and it's not her fault. She was told to, right? So her and JoJo would come in once every so often because they were filming Total Divas and they were characters on that show, and they were going to be training. And I felt they immediately had heat because they just weren't there like everyone else. And that's not their fault. You know what I mean? Uh, there'd be promo days, and, it always seemed like there was just a target on each one, particularly Natalie Eva Marie, I think her name. Yeah. So, like, she was clearly had a star look. And when they brought her back, and she had like nuclear heat with the fans. And like what I never figured out was like, why didn't everyone realize this was awesome. Like, she was the honky tonk man. Like, she is the one wrestler who could walk into that fucking building and no one's gonna like them. That's what you want. That's the best. Like, I thought it was great. I don't know what else they did with her there. I'm sure it didn't get to where I would have wanted it to go.
They did the Bailey
But
match. I don't know if you've seen the Bailey match, but if you haven't, that feels like something you would love. They do a big smoke and mirrors match where they convince Full Sail Eva's winning the belt. You would love it if you haven't seen it.
that
It's
sounds
worth
like
it.
something I'm going to be really excited
Yes.
to watch for the first time because, yeah, that's great. Because she just had such heat and she had presence.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically used her inexperience to get her over. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. If everyone wrestles the same way and has the same 4-star matches, there's no such thing as a 4-star match.
Right.
You've got to have other people doing other like and this comes from me, like Captain, I'm gonna make a list at the end of the year with Alan Farrell for star rating. Like now I look at it like, God damn, you need this other thing to just be there to make the star matches mean more.
Right.
Like now, I'm not going to go back and say Crazy Cage if Marty and Joey Matthews needed to be on Death Before Dishonor, but there's nothing wrong with that one match that just is completely different than everything else. So that's kind of what
Yeah.
the Elegante at Great American Bash
There you
1990
go.
match needs to exist. And
And
everyone's like, oh, it was only Cage Match only said this. It doesn't matter. If you have an engaged audience that cares, like again, I'm saying you have to care. They've
of
got to
course, yeah.
vehemently dislike it.
Yeah.
I don't mean go put on a shitty match on purpose. Like,
Well,
but
I think, but to your point, the way Eva's presented is honest with her limitations, and they don't have Eva like doing 20-minute matches of Asuka. Like she's there to be something different, and the crowd
yes.
boos her, and they used her accordingly. I mean, even here, she's used basically because the thing with Nia, you could tell that she was someone was a priority, and understandably so. But that obviously increases the amount of production in terms of how they put her stuff together. And the big thing that I think watching it back was a challenge for Nia was they wanted her to smile all the time. And I think their idea was to have like a sort of, this juxtaposition of like, she's a dominant force, but she's also beautiful and she has this smile. But the issue, obviously, that was wrestling fans, we're a simple bunch, aren't we? Are you a babyface or heel? So she's out there just smiling, just beating people up. And I think the audience at this point, only 2 months in, remember, like, they don't really know what to make of Nia, babyface or heel. And Eva helped with that. And obviously now that's hilarious because Nia, if nothing else, Nia can get heat like that right now.
Yes.
So it's interesting the way they used her for sure. But the Bailey match, I think there'll be a Naylor clip tweet soon. I think you're going to love that.
I hope so. Here's one for you.
Yes.
You're a little younger. You remember 911, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
From ECW. Okay.
Yeah.
So so get this. 911 was never a polished worker. But when I was first getting into ECW, like the guitarist was playing the national anthem and he would fuck it up on purpose. 911, 911. And then he'd bring out Santa Claus on 911. Yeah, fuck him up. Or they'd have a match and they'd have people purposely miss time spots. So boo, 911. He was like the guy that would just come out and wreck shit. You need that. I want more of something like that in wrestling. Like, I'm not saying 911 was Goldberg, but you need that one thing that is like, I remember saying to someone, I might have said this on a different podcast, and they won't do it now anyway, but like, Beast Mortos is fucking great, right? We all agree on that.
Yeah.
He's in all these great matches. But I always thought, like, imagine if with Beast Mortos, there was a match happening, and all of a sudden you hear roar, and his little thing comes up. He comes out and just fucks everyone up, fucks up the ref, like, and then just leaves, right? And they do that every fucking week for months.
Yeah.
And like fans just anticipating, roar, and then he comes out and just fucking throws them up and power slams them on the fucking way. Just does like 2 or 3 moves and leaves. That would be so much more valuable in getting this guy over than like a bunch of matches. And I love lucha wrestling.
Of course.
I think he's one of the best. He's at fucking base times 1,000,000. And he's in all these great matches, Commander and Aramis and the whole. But Bandito, the list goes on and on. He's fucking great. And there's a value to that. But I just always think like, man, presentation-wise, sometimes you just got to figure out a way where like someone's not you can't lose a run in, right? So like that's such a value to me where like if someone just comes out like Wardlow did the power bomb thing and that did get over. You
Yep.
can't beat it into the ground. But I think there's like a value to that. And that's like Natalie, Eva Marie, and Naya. There's numerous different examples of just something that's dichotomous. It's just such a difference than everything else on the show. And I've always enjoyed that. Like I that's why I like the old box promos that the Dream would do in FCW or the Brother Love show or Piper's like things where it's just like a whole new dressing and a set and just something different. Like imagine if RJ City did like a live thing on Dynamite every
Yeah.
week. Like where you wouldn't know what was going to happen, who was going to be on or what he was going to say. Like there's a value to that. And that's another long rant about really nothing, but I'm just trying to say like stuff sometimes outside because this period of FC or this period of NXT is seen as like the glory cage match good wrestling period and that's fucking awesome, but
Yeah.
they also had a lot of these other intangibles that they were nailing and I
Absolutely.
think that's
Yeah.
good. That's what any great wrestling promotion needs. You need to mix up the great performances and the people and the stars and the characters and you got to mix that up a little bit with just like what the fuck is this? You got
Uh,
to kind of throw something into the situation.
Matt in the chat said only on LNG could we have a 911 Eve Marie comparison. To be fair, we had the Brett Enzo for a moment there, so you'd already peaked in that regard, I think. But there's still time. There's still time.
They're
Um,
gonna be like, "Yo, we need to send Naylor to rehab." No, look, I'm on thyroid meds and Dutch Brothers coffee, but I just think that Natalia and Eva Marie is the new 911.
this
No,
this has
uh,
been an absolute blast, bro. I
I
don't
knew
know
that
what we've
once,
achieved,
like me
but
and
I
you
knew
have
it would
never
happen.
spoken before. We
Yeah,
interacted on Twitter, but
yeah.
this is everything I've wanted it to be because you're such a delight. But yeah, this is just complete stupidity, and I love it. And I thank you all for listening.
Yes. The people are loving it. So, they're also loving here in December 2015, for that matter, December 2025. Asuka is, I mean, what is the list about Asuka? She's sensation. She is programmed this time with Dana and Emma, Dana Brooke and Emma. She is on the road to the match with Emma in London, which is actually, I mean, Emma obviously has the significant match with Paige that was mentioned earlier, but I think is, to me, the height of her career, I think, is that London match with Asuka. For me personally, I think that match is her best work, and I love this version of Emma. You know, that presentation, that kind of cool vibe that she had. So confident, I felt. They get some promo time here, the heels. We get a little bit of novelty here, too, though, and we'll start with this and we'll circle back to Asuka versus Emma. The wins they got on TV was interesting. Emma gets a win over Liv Morgan, who this is her second TV match, but her first under the name Liv Morgan. And then Asuka beats Deonna Purrazzo. And it's fun to see those names in that spot, right? So, what was your reaction to just seeing those names? You know, a match like Asuka and Deonna Purrazzo sounds hilarious now, but it's like at the time Deonna's just there to put over Asuka, and it's pretty cool how that stuff works with wrestling, right? Over time, you see people climb that way. Pretty neat, I think.
Oh, for sure. And I knew Deanna and Liv from just living around Florida and stuff, and they'd be out with different people that I knew. And I just remember, God, like such an upside for both, and Liv has really put it all together and good for her, man. Cause she's another one who came from, she came from like that bodybuilding stuff and in that gym. I forget the gentleman's name who had the gym, but she got in that way and was seen and she got brought in and she was after me. Like
Yeah,
I knew her after the fact, but I just remember thinking, man, this girl's like such personality and she's really gonna make it. And she's just done so great. Like her and Dominic, come on. Like that is far
amazing.
beyond anything I ever would like I haven't watched a ton of WWE in recent times, but Dominic Mysterio, you talk about someone I was completely wrong about. He's
Yeah.
fucking incredible. And her with him, it is just like it's the best. So good on them. And then Deanna, she had a great match and she knew her role in the match to get Asuka over. And she did very well. And she's doing her thing now too. So good on her also. But like, how cool. Like when I saw that, I was like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
And then Emma, when she first showed up, like I knew she was a wrestler. So I was like, okay, cool. And then the dream's like, Robbie, we got Tanilli Dishwater coming in. I'm like, Tanilli? He's like, Tanilli. I'm like, I don't okay, Tanilli's coming. So like Tanilli came and she was in that room. He eventually knew her name because she was in there every other day. Like, here's a pitch. How about this? And there's a meme, and we're gonna do this. And I was with her when we picked that fucking horrid music because, like, I was the guy they'd sit with and listen to music with in the machine. And like, we came to that one. I was like, oh god, this is horrific. I go, it's perfect. And she's like, yeah. And like, there were other people like, dude, fuck off. We're not using this shit as music. And I'm like, I think it's good. And then she comes out to it. And within like a week, oh my God, the heat. Like, people were just like, what? She did the Emma dance. And like, she would go out and just get other people to do the dance with her. I remember I was at WrestleMania 29. I got to take a camera around and follow Big E and the Shield everywhere for like a project. And I remember Emma was there. And every time the camera would be on her, she'd just be with civilians doing the Emma dance and trying to get that over. And I'm like, good for you, man. And then here she has like a scary Doink the Clown Emma music, which I hadn't heard
Yes.
prior.
It
And
rules, dude.
I was like, this is great. It's like the demented evil Emma music. So that alone, I was like, fuck yeah. But then
Yeah.
her promos were very good on these shows. And I liked her with Dana Brooke. It's just like sometimes you just put the right ingredients together and it works. And I thought it was very good.
Yeah, and I'm never a fan of the like wrestlers in the ring, something on the screen. I just hate that's one of those things just I don't like. But if you're gonna do it, Asuka kicking a heavy bag is a pretty good way to do it, right? I mean, it's if you're gonna do it right. I thought it was pretty neat that deal
Yes.
they did.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I'm agreeing with you, by the way. I also am not a big like, oh, like
Yeah.
the lights just went out and there's something on the screen. What could be a foot at the Circle K?
Yeah.
And then like something's on there. And like, I guess I don't mind it in moderation, but it just seems like they do it quite a bit. But I did like Oscar with the heavy bag. I thought it was effective.
Yes, absolutely. For anyone who's not seen the London show, the Asuka Emma match is very much worth a look. Also on the card is Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews, which is one that, is an interesting one to look back on because both guys would somewhat jump the line in NXT, I mean, because they would both be called up after the following Mania. So 4 months after this, they're both on the main roster. And both would, I mean, look, Crews is still there, and Corbin was there until last year, maybe last year. Both had extensive runs. They are both guys finding their way, but in very different fashions, right? Apollo, physically, is already, I mean, incredibly explosive and exciting. Still finding the character. Corbin, I think, is obviously a lot earlier in his journey. What did you make of this version? Because obviously you wasn't watching closely necessarily. So what kind of stood out to you with this version of both Cruz and Corbin in a time where both of them, I think, are trying to find something to quite click for them in NXT? What did you make of it?
I thought Uha looked good because Uha, I knew him from Dragon Gate USA.
Yes.
Like, I remember before one of the shows at BB King's back in 2011, I believe, they had him do a showcase for Shima and the Dragon Gate just to like see what he could do. And I just remember like they were like, dude, this guy rules. Like, what is going? It's like that moment where like Shima saw the Young Bucks do their finish for the first time. He's like, "Oh, you come to Dragon Gate, like, or the Ricochet doing the double moonsault. You need to come here." Like, I think Uha did the Ultimo Dragon slingshot power bomb or multiple power bomb Takaiwa style thing, and like Uha was just obviously just so explosive, and he had such a cool a batch of things that he did, and he's just a great guy. And then Corbin, when Corbin showed up back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
I just remember being like, all right, this guy, major football guy. I remember one of his early promos in promo class. He just brought out like a sack and it had like 50 grand on the table. I just remember everyone's like, fuck this guy. Like, we're making 650 a week, right? So like it was just like, oh man, here we go. So like he was gonna be a heel, and he was very stoic. And he's another one who I'm happy to say, like, when he first started, much like Dawkins, it's like, this can go either way. And he had a lot of veteran wrestlers working with him, and there was a lot of time and patience put into what he did. I think he's got a wonderful sweeping right hand. He's someone who protects his finish, which, old Robbie Naylor in 2025 is going to love and appreciate that. Like, he's very good. He found his way, and it took him a while, like you said.
Yeah.
But I was very impressed at the confidence he had here because, again, I didn't watch a lot, but I knew him back in 2013, and when I watched him here, I guess you could. appreciate the chef putting the ingredient out there as well, but like he did his part, but they knew how to present him, and I thought it was quite good.
And it's funny how it works in the sense that, and I'm sure you didn't see a ton of it, but he would go on to you know play roles. I'll use that phrase, but he would play roles that, to be honest, weren't really suited to what his skill set was. But the one thing that I think, to his credit, he always embraced that. I mean, at one point they had him doing like the general manager shtick, which is hard enough if you're, Eric Bischoff or or Mick Foley, let alone your Baron Corbin on the roster. But to his credit, he did his absolute best with it, and he got better in that role. And I think Corbin is a guy who he's probably never going to be the hardcore fans' favorite. I think he became a really accomplished pro, and obviously still going, and good on him. He's got a
Yeah, and
lot
he
of
got rid of
criticism for
that.
me.
He got rid of that name we stuck him with too.
Yeah, Bishop Dyer now, which is a name that's just glorious. I mean, I just
It
love
is.
it.
It's a good name.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
Bishop
was.
Dyer.
There was a whole lot of stuff with the names. By the way, I'm gonna kind of absolve myself from some
Good.
stuff here. There was
Innocent.
some names, like a lot of. It went from, hey, here's 5 first names and 5 last names, and we're gonna give it to you, and then you're gonna pick one. We're gonna send it to legal. Legal's gonna say if it's an existing, person or not, and then we're gonna move forward. But eventually, it just got to like 18 different people being involved with it, and again, the Baron Corbin thing. Yeah, I knew Darren Corbin existed clearly, but I also remember it was one of those things where it's so funny. I saw Bailey recently said something about her name, which I didn't remember this, where like she picked her name, and I guess I had told her, "Oh, well, you're not gonna be on TV if you don't like one of these names," which sounds like a me thing to do. And then she's like, "All right, yeah, Bailey sounds great." So like that, I remember her wanting Bay, like the Bay in the West Coast. So I
Yeah.
do remember that. But I also I remember so many times with Baron Corbin, there was just so many fucking debates over this name, and I'm just like, "Fuck it." Baron Corbin, and Dreams like it sounds good, baby. And then that was it. And then I felt like a fucking asshole because Darren Corbin is still on the Indies. But then they later met, which I think is awesome. But like, it was just one of these things where there was so many different, and I didn't name people. It went way past. That's a higher pay grade than I was at. But like, I would be part of the process. I was the initial part of the process, and then Adrian Neville still hurts me today. Like that wasn't supposed to happen. That he was supposed to be the one with the greatest name, but like, so many other people got involved that he became Adrian Neville, and then he was just Neville, and then he was, Robbie Neville or whatever the hell he was. What did Dream call him? What the hell did Dream call Aaron Neville? Robbie, bring Aaron Neville in. I'm like, oh my lord. So like, and like, I remember when Pac got there, Dream would be like, all right. Like this guy was in Dragon Gate. He was an accomplished star. And he's like, all right, act like a chicken. And I remember Ben being like, Robbie, what are they doing to me? This isn't right. I'm like, oh no, like this is what they do this to everyone. Like, I love Dragon Gate. I'm a chicken. I'm like, no, he just wants to see the personality. And like now look at Ben. Like he's just so focused, man. Like I remember with that cruiserweight title run, I did see some of that because I am a Pac enthusiast, and like he just found his
Yeah.
voice. He's one of the best promos in wrestling, in my opinion. But I just remember at first there's going to be that moment, and it happened with Corbin too, where like you're not cutting promos all the time for some of these folks if they're either new to it or it's not your thing because you're in a Japanese promotion. And then like there's classes and you learn and
Hmm.
you try to be authentic, and I assume they still do promo classes at NXT. I hope they do. I'd imagine they do, but
It's interesting though. I mean, you would presume, but I don't hear. I don't, because you used to hear, even back then in real time, you would still hear the stories about promo club. I don't hear that at all anymore. So I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it
I
happens. It
don't
has to,
know.
right?
Yeah, it has to.
Yeah.
I think what they do now is they have like a little room where you film your own promos.
Yeah.
But I would also imagine they have to. They
I
have to
think
do
so.
that. That was another thing, Joe, where I had to be in charge of setting up the microphones and
Oh,
directing the
great.
thing live, and they had the pipe and drape and get some other folks to help, and like sometimes that little piece of silver from the pipe would be behind the drape, and that we'd send it. Someone would be like, "What is this?" I'm like, What happened?" And I'm like, "Look at you not see that piece of pipe behind the drape." Oh my god, dude. I've lost sleep over this. Like it was just like it was just always it wasn't everyone. It was just some people where I'm just like, is this really necessary? Like,
Yeah,
and there's a value to that. You want to be a perfectionist. You want what you do to be good, and you want
of
it to be the
course.
best it can be. But buddy, there was 4 people gonna see that. Regardless, I just like, all right, man. Sorry about that pipe and drape, but yeah, I can't walk past some pipe and drape now without feeling a certain kind of
Yeah,
way.
just
But
a shiver down your spine.
yeah,
Yeah,
man, have
I
to.
get it.
Yeesh.
We get here something that they did for Brooklyn too, and would become a staple as they made these takeovers, arena shows consistently. The post takeover TV that is almost like I said earlier, bonus features, because you get the post match comments and then you get some other stuff they taped that night. And one thing I remember, and I presume it's out there, I don't know, but Sami Zayn closed the night. Like Joe and Finn had their match, and then Sami came out to wrestle Ty Dillinger, and that's why the promo we get at the end of the episode is very much like send the people home happy speech, right? I mean, it's a promo, but it's also just kind of triumphant Sami Zayn back in business. You mentioned the vignettes earlier; they are terrific, building to Sami's return. Obviously, Ty Dillinger, Sean Spears is like the safest possible hands he could land in for this return to TV. What did you make of their match? You know, very tidy affair, obviously, but just great to see Sami Zayn, right, in any form.
Oh, 100%. He's another one. Like, god damn, man. Like him and he had one of the best tryouts I've ever seen. When he came in, he knew he was awesome. He
Yeah,
did his thing, and just to see him going from 2013, where there was some times there in 2013 where everyone wasn't thrilled about NXT and being there and how things were, and to see how he just grew with it all and it just became bigger and bigger, and he's kind of the face of it in so many ways,
yeah,
and he survived it, and then he came back, or he had his last one with Nakamura, and I remember how big that was in 2016, and this promo where he's saying, "Hey guys, come along with us for 2016." Like, he deserves a lot of credit. I don't know if how he finished in Wrestler of the Year and things of that nature back in the day, but I think a lot of these NXT top people needed to be like Wrestlers of the Year because they were draws. They were drawing
yeah.
fans. They were legitimate draws, and I'm talking. I hate organic, homegrown, legitimate draws
Mm-hmm.
because they came from running Cocoa Beach in front of 19 people to growing their thing into being like a giant draw. And I'm talking Sasha, Bailey,
Yep.
Generico, Kevin Owens. Ultimately, when he comes in, like, he's a key component to all of it, and just all the people that are there doing their thing. It's just wild. It's so fun to watch this. Like, again, like, I just crack up. I see people in the reps. I can look at people in the front row. I can see everybody. The backstage announcers sometimes. I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, I remember this. It's a trip. You needed to make a sojourn over to here to watch a Full Sail taping when they ever go back, man. You
Yeah,
got
it
it.
was.
You
When
got
they
to.
went back, like it was. I allowed myself to get swept up in that. I think like they're going back to Falls, and I watched it. I was like, I mean, I guess this is fine. But there was a part of me that was plotting some sort of emergency trip. Like I was gonna, I was gonna be out there trying my best to go back in time. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of this stuff.
What's
Obviously, and
your
it makes
what's
sense
your
for.
belief on buildings and fans that are in that building? Like, the ECW arena fans of
Mm-hmm.
the 90s are not the ones of the 2000s. They there
Right.
was there was moments of it,
Yep.
but no. Hammerstein, topical. So Hammerstein this weekend, like, I wish them all the best. I hope they kick ass. Hammerstein with ECW was like a religious experience. Hammerstein with Ring of Honor, I thought was very good, but it was not like
Yep.
ECW. I thought Ring of Honor's best building was in the same building, ironically, but it was the Manhattan Center. That was just an energy there that was not anywhere else, I feel. Hammerstein, more recently, GCW, AEW's run. I think New Yorkers like a concise show. I think they just want to go there for 3.5 hours, lose their minds, and go home. I think they're also a match type thing. Whereas other wrestling companies, like, sometimes, like, you got to do promo. I don't know if that's the same audience. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It'll be interesting to see how they are. Uh, but then Full Sail, like, I don't know if you just go back to Full Sail if it translates anymore, because
I
I don't
don't
know
think
if
so.
this.
No.
Yeah, see, you know more than I don't think
No.
maybe the same people. It's not the same time. It's not the same generation. It's not the same vibe. It catches fire sometimes, and then it just kind of fizzles out.
Yeah. I think. and this is ironic as we're talking about this, but I think generally speaking, I mean, you can do a one-off show where you take some people back to Full Sail, but I think anytime you're trying to recapture something, I think at that point you're already, fighting against it, I think. Like, it's like how many promotions, and obviously there's some great stuff that happens, I'm not dismissing it, but, how many promotions go back to 2300 and it's like, we're gonna have that vibe, and it's like, you can't. It's it's a different thing. It moves on, and so I think what's interesting about talking about Full Sail this way is at the time of the shows we actually watched here, for a lot of people, they were still getting used to what Full Sail was, right? And now, because that was its era, in the same way, AEW have done a few residencies. The one that resonated the most with me as a fan was the esports place in Texas, because that's their place now. Right? Like, that's theirs. It isn't them doing a version of ECW or doing a version of whatever else. It's a building they run. And so I just think whenever you try and recapture magic from yesterday, I think it's difficult, right? It's impossible, I think.
Yeah, I was at the first show they ran there, esports, and I
Yep.
just remember being like, whoa, this is a fun little place. And my only feedback to someone backstage was get some bleachers. They might have done that since then, but
I think it's still flat. Yeah,
I just like
agree, yeah.
I like risers just from a
Yes.
visual standpoint, but I effing love the look of that place.
Right.
And if they can get risers in there, they should. But I also would do it only a couple weeks instead of 5.
5's a lot.
But
yeah.
yeah, I think 5's a lot for any wrestling company in the history of the business. But I do think that you're right. That is one of my favorite places that they go for sure.
Right.
And they've got that giant screen and everything. It's just cool, man.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes when the first match happens, you could just feel, okay, this is gonna be good. These are fans, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's some places that I'll even talk to different wrestlers in both of the top organizations after shows and be like, why'd they run there? You should put that on a never run there again list. Like, there's a lot of places like that. And I guess there's different metrics that go into it, but sometimes you just know a hot building and a hot crowd, and the hot crowd makes everything better and makes bigger stars, in my opinion.
One thing on the topic of, having a home is some things that can happen that you would never have elsewhere. For example, Blue Pants, Leva Bates, right? She gets this huge reaction at Full Sail a couple times, and they go with it. And this ultimately culminates, and I'm sure you've seen this particularly, even if you haven't seen the broader thing. She gets like an arena pop in Brooklyn. She gets this mega pop in Brooklyn. And it's all because those people had watched this TV, the Full Sail TV. They saw Full Sail react that way. And it happened with Ty Dillinger, right? In the same way where Full Sail embraced Ty Dillinger, and then the arena crowds, they're watching the TV, they follow suit. That is a unique quirk of doing TV in a home, right? Where like that 500 people, whatever it is, 600 people, they can set the tone. And the next thing you know, it's 10,000 in an arena, and they're following suit. That's an amazing thing, I think.
100%. And Leva, like, bless her heart, like, I knew her before all of this, and I was just so happy for her, because it's like, I say to her, man, you'll always have that Brooklyn, like, that just is like, it's crazy. And again, a lot of people are like, oh, well, Full Sail, they just make these stars and then it doesn't translate to the main roster. But yeah, it happens a lot. But a lot of this stuff is just like certain people who are writing the show or taking part in creating some of the characters for the show. It's their job to get people where they need to go on the show they're on, right? It's not their job to translate it to the main roster.
Yeah.
And like this has been a story since developmental started, I'm sure, where there's just one passing something along to somebody else. Good fucking luck, because like it's a flip of the coin whether it's going to be handled correctly. Like, there's obviously like Bray Wyatt clearly is a giant, like, hey, it was cool here and it's even cooler there type thing, but that's not always going to happen. So like, whether Adam Rose or Leva Bates or Emma doing her dance, or there's 10, there's various things that happen, and I never look at it like, oh, it was just niche and it was just what it was. It's like, good for them, they did it.
Of course.
They never came out the crickets. They had that connectivity for a little bit. And how many wrestlers stay over like that forever anyway? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
It's not that drives me nuts, that kind of mentality of like, if something eventually falls off, it means the rest of it's erased. That's so stupid. It's like, she had that moment in Brooklyn, as you said, or we mentioned Sean Spears now he's not the perfect 10 who's this, red hot sensation, but he's still a working pro wrestler doing great. It isn't him not being what he was in terms of popularity doesn't erase what he was able to experience and achieve as the perfect 10, right? Like, that's all one career, dude. Not everyone's going to be, as you know, and I'm preaching the choir with this, but I think some fans really struggle with that idea. Like, it still happened. We watched it. It was fucking awesome,
You get a run. You get a run. If you could prolong that run, hell yeah. But you get a run. Like, so Orange Cassidy on AEW. I call it like, again, you're the youth you're the youth. So I didn't say it. You're the youth. So it's like Al Bundy was on Married with Children, and like Al Bundy would walk in the house, and everyone's like, yeah. Well, Orange Cassidy in AEW in the early shows, I liken him to Al Bundy because they would show up, he'd be in the backstage, and he would just pop up on screen like, "Where's Waldo?" and everyone would react. And I thought, oh my God, what a great way to not have to feature someone weekly in matches and just get him more over by the week. And I've gotten into it with people like, oh, well, why don't they still do that? I'm like, because they already did that. You have to evolve it at some point. Now, again, haven't seen a lot of the show proper. I see these videos of Joe Hendry and how they incorporate saying his name and it getting that same Al Bundy type thing. And I'm like, God damn, I love that kind of TV. Because it's like, that works. That's so fun as someone doing wrestling television to incorporate fun ways to say a fucking guy's name. It's the stupidest fucking thing. And it's awesome. And that's the thing. And this blue pants, come on, man. Her Tron was a pair of blue pants.
It's awesome.
It's the best. It is so good.
Yeah.
It is my childhood evolution from Bugsy McGraw to Jimmy the Boogie Woogie Man Valiant onward, where you have to have goofy, fun shit. You can't have a whole card of it. Maybe you can sometimes. There's been some promotions that pull it off. But you have to have a little levity in between everything else. And I thought Blue Pants did her job very well for the small amount of time.
I agree. There was some levity provided by the emerging Elias. The Drifter is here. We get some vignette. And full disclosure, I have no idea what your experience is or what your take is. I've always owned this. It's not even a guilty pleasure. It's just a pleasure. I think this shtick is just glorious. To me, if there's a couple guys on the card that are full gimmicks, it's like we talked about earlier, right? That variety is fun. Did he become a bit of a crutch for the McMahon regime in the late 2010s? Of course, but that's not his fucking problem, right? It's a gimmick that you remember and got over. What did you make of these vignettes? Because these tickle me, I must say, Rob.
I was there when he tried out again, and he was just Logan Shulo, and he's a nice guy, and I remember him from Norm Connor's IWC, and I think some of what people were saying was just like, oh, got to get some more charisma out of him, and I just laugh at that now, because it's like, from a tryout, at a tryout, you're not going to have a gimmick. Like, how funny would that be, by the way? Someone shows up for a tryout, is in full gimmick, right? But, he's someone that never jumped off the paper to me initially. So when I saw the Drifter character and I saw how he got into it, I was like, all right, good for him. And I didn't see a lot of it, but I really thought they did something with that. And they got him over doing his own thing. It was unique. It was different. And it was really over for a while there. But again, everybody has a shelf life. Like, you can't stay over forever.
Yep, absolutely. He comes in, he gets a win over Bull Dempsey on the Wembley Arena TV. As one door opens, though, another closes. And this is a thing I'd forgotten you were even going to see on these TVs. We do see the swan song of one James Storm on these TVs, who concludes his NXT run with his second match in the promotion. It's a win over Adam Rose. He told the story recently in an interview where he talked about after his first match, they told him to tighten up a little bit and lose some weight. And he looks fucking awesome here coming out to work this match with Adam Rose. My favorite thing, Rob, about the James Storm appearances, this is before they've decided how they're going to address non-WWE wrestling. They eventually settle on international wrestling. That's like Bobby Roode shows up and they go, this guy is a big star internationally, just a big hit. At this time they haven't settled on that, and so I don't know if you noticed, Rob, but their big thing with James Storm is he was actually in WCW back in the day. And it just, every time they say it, it's like, that being their frame of reference is the most WWE thing ever, right? We're just use WCW. Don't know, none of the other stuff matters. Just use that.
Yeah, that is kind of wild. And here's a question for you:
Yes.
How many? How was he an NXT contracted guy?
No. So the
So this is
story
when they
with
were still
him,
doing special appearance contracts for people like Ibushi and this guy, right?
it's a little more complicated. So the story with him goes, and he's told this, I believe, on Chris Van Vliet. He was brought in to be a player, and so much so that they expected, and Triple H, Hunter, whoever, was convinced that when Vince saw James Storm was going to call him up, TNA had just got a new TV deal. It was either the Pop TV deal or the one after that. I forget. They had a few in that mid 2010s, right, where they switched broadcast. I think it was Pop. And they had a little bit of money to play with, and there wasn't a ton of names free agent wise, so it was like, let's bring back James Storm. And the way it worked out, somewhat infamously, was they brought back James Storm to reform Beer Money, which was another thing I saw at Wembley Arena. I saw Beer Money back together. And unfortunately, as James Storm returned to reform Beer Money, Bobby Roode soon left to go to NXT and become a featured guy. So they kind of crossed each other. And the story goes that when Storm told them what TNA was offering, the WWE brass was kind of like, well, I think that's probably what you're going to have to do, James. Good luck. And so he did that, and he made some good money on Pop TV. But that's a bit of a what if for a lot of fans is,
Wow.
what would it look like if he had a real run, right?
Yeah, because I even in my notes for this, I took copious notes, my friend. But I had Adam Rose versus James Storm, and then all caps. James Storm won. I didn't understand that at the time they were putting non-contracted
Yeah.
people over contracted people. So I was just like, all right. But yeah, there you go. James Storm. That is very interesting. I didn't know any of that backstory, and
Yeah.
wild time. What a fascinating time to follow all of this, because there were so many things that were set in stone as absolute non-negotiable things that they actually started doing, and I think that's good.
They would repeat this template. Around 6 months later, I want to say, Eric Young comes in as like an open challenge opponent or something to that effect. And he works with Joe or something. And it then ultimately transitions to him having a full run. And I think that was the plan with Storm, was he was going to kind of, be a push guy, be a featured guy. It's something, as a fan of James Storm's work, I do wish we could have seen what it looked like. The weird part of that is, what does that mean for Rude's run? Does he ever do the glorious run, or is they just do Beer Money in NXT? I mean, that's a strange thing to kick around. Maybe we got revival Beer Money, dare I say. Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. And that's the thing with that. The thing I like about this, about the open door policy, if you will, which happened in wrestling since it started, is part of the fun, whether it's my one old buddy who's like 20 years older than me. I'm the youth of America now, where he would tell me that back in the 70s, he would go to WWF shows, and like Harley Race would just be there, or like someone else would just walk through the curtain, and he'd be like, oh, wow, there's Greg Valentine, or Ken Patera's back. And like, for a while there with WWE, the problem with NXT was, I always felt that the call ups were very obvious when they were going to happen, and there was never any a true surprise jump anymore or debut, because you had to go through the system to get to the main roster. Now, AJ Styles was different. It ended up being different a time or two, but the open door policy of NXT, what I love about that is that even with NXT, there was there was a hierarchy, there was a ladder where you had to do these several things. You got to be on house shows. You got to get over to a certain amount on promo days. You got to have a bunch of good positive write-ups from the coaches. You got to be in the class, the A-tier class that they did at the time, and then you'll be on the TV show. Or you have to be an underneath person, and you'll get on the TV show, but you won't be pushed, but you'll be on the TV show, which is better in theory than not being. So there's all this hierarchy where it was just like, even in NXT for a while there, either when I was working there or after, it seemed like there was such an obvious route to go to get on TV, that these kinds of fun surprises that we all like in wrestling weren't possible. They might have been surprises to someone that wasn't closely following it, but they weren't really surprises for people who are hardcore fans committing to really following it. So I like this for Eric Young, for James Storm, for Kota Ibushi.
Yep.
people now look at well, they dropped the ball. The word fumbled now is muted on my social media,
Oh,
but they
yeah.
fumble it. They didn't fumble it. They allowed it to happen, and in a way, it's cooler that it didn't last. Because guess what? This is the way the territories in wrestling have worked forever.
Yes.
I wish that Steve DeSalvo came in as the Minotaur in WCW and lasted fucking 10 years. He was there for 2 weeks. It's still cool because he was the Minotaur. So, like,
Right.
again, sometimes not having a run is still pretty cool. It might not be cool for people's actual pocketbooks that are the human beings involved, but it's still kind of cool for a fan to
Right.
see, oh, well, they had a couple weeks. That was fun.
And what's the damage? They had a couple James Storm matches on TV. It's not, it's like, cool, man. Like, I think that kind of, oh, it didn't go anywhere. Well, it's a pro wrestling TV show, and they had a pro wrestler show up and have some wrestling matches. I mean, it's not that
Yep.
big of a deal, right?
Yep.
Especially
I'm
these are
with you.
short matches too. It's like,
Yeah.
um, well, our final topic here. We have a final topic. I'm gonna run down some house shows. We have some chats here that I do need to get to because the audience has just been locked in. They've been loving this the whole time. We appreciate those of you that have watched our sort of chaotic assessment of these many matters we've gone through tonight.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the surrounding tag teams, and we talked about Enzo and Cass, talked about the revival. There's a kind of informal deal going on. So firstly, let's talk about the American Alpha Vaudevillains babyface match, which we're leading a certain way with the Vaudevillains, who are not long for NXT. American Alpha are beginning to emerge as an outright sensation at this time. The UK tour would be huge because there would be all these viral clips of the crowd chanting, Gable, Gable, Jordan, Jordan, that chant that they did in the UK on the Across the House shows. Man, I said whatever a moment ago, and I think you and I are on the same page, and that we try not to dwell on like what could have been, instead focus on what was, right, and celebrate those things. American Alpha as a team, Rob, was, good God Almighty, was this a special act? This had so much potential, didn't it? I mean, they had a nice run, but it could have been so much more. I feel,
Yeah, man. Jason Jordan, man, what a guy. He was so awesome. He was someone who was a wrestler who helped me as someone in the office. He had a big truck. If something needed to get taken someplace, he would help out. He was the nicest, I say kid, but youth of America. He was a real nice guy, and he basically did everything asked, smile on his face. He had that same collegiate background where him and Norman Smiley and my main man, Phil Bronson, they could have taken apart anyone in a shoot in the whole building if they wanted to back in the day, but they didn't because they're great guys. But he had a legitimate background, and I love the fact that they had the gimmick that they had. I had pitched so many varsity club type gimmicks over the years for the college athletes that we had. It's like, you idiot, Vince hates wrestling. That's the stupidest pitch ever. I was like, all right, cool, man. Just figured I would try. But this was the closest I think they came to the varsity club. So I always appreciated that this got pushed through. Gable, along with Sami Zayn, like I said, had the greatest tryout I've ever seen. I later found out he trained with a little bit with Eric Cannon beforehand, but I just thought he was like sight unseen. He just came in and did this unbelievable tryout. I never got to work with Gable. I wish I would have because he's fucking great. But he tried out right before I was out, but he did great. He's still awesome, and him and Jason Jordan as a team is something that I also haven't seen the whole duration of.
Yeah.
But the revival stuff I've seen is awesome. This was a lot of fun. Just TV match, Jason Jordan and Chad Gable was a lot of fun. Aiden English is someone who was in the vaunted beginners class, which a lot of people might not understand. The beginners class was not a cash grab. In ways, I suppose it was, but the FCW beginners class, you paid an amount of money and you came in, and Norman Smiley, Chris Russo, and a couple other folks, maybe Kern would be there. They'd train you, they'd show you the ropes and show you how to you can be a wrestler. And like, Norman is obviously a sweetheart and a great guy and the opposite of a carny, and he would do his best and he would train some of these people. Some of these people never were going to have a chance. Aiden English came in. There was nothing promised from being in the beginners class. He was someone who was in the beginners class that shockingly actually made it to NXT a couple of years later. And he was so gifted. He obviously can sing. He has so many positive qualities. Great professional guy, super nice guy. Shawn Michaels sound alike, give or take with that ability, but really good dude. And he was in the Vaudevillains with GQ Money and Simon Gotch. So that's a fun little thing, man. They had a nice run. Another one that they had a good run.
Yeah.
I mean that was a gimmick that wasn't going to last forever either. But I thought they did what they could with it. They were really on fire with a lot of fun, creative gimmicks around this time. So long way of saying I enjoyed the presentation. It wasn't put out there to be the match of the year or anything, but it was an
Right.
absolutely fine TV bout that just, got people the next step.
I definitely agree. On the other side of this, and it would all culminate with a four-way tag, we have the Hype Bros, which every time I watch it, just joy. Two things. I get a kick out of Mojo just because he's Mojo. You can't help but get a kick out of him, I think. But also the sort of, there's something about the body language of one Matt Cardona and Zack Ryder in this act that is just, once you get it, it makes the act much funnier. It's kind of he's increasing commentary on how he felt about it, makes it funnier, I think, But they are here, they're wrestling Blake and Murphy, an LNG favorite. Now, one thing I did that was stunned me rewatching this, they had already started the Alexa is tired of these guys losing all the time, and it kind of bummed me out. Someone reliving this, I wish those guys had more of a chance to be a team, it's actually a really short run, the Blake and Murphy tag run. So before we get into the match, the Hype Bros, what do you make of that WWF New Gen combination they attempted with Ryder and Mojo, Rob?
Well, Mojo has always been a favorite. I name the guy every time I talk to him. You name me. I remember when I met Gronkowski at his little mansion at the yacht club at one of the parties. He's like, "This guy named me." I'm like, "Oh, hi, Rob Gronkowski. I'm Rob." So it was always fun and interesting. Mojo is what you see is what you get. He is a complete over the top. Like you guys think I'm a little over the top. This guy, Mojo. And again, I like Mojo Nixon. I just thought that he just seemed like a Mojo to me. So he was Mojo, and then he just went along with it, and he did a good job, and he would run around, and he was always really good when we would do Let's Get Loud and throw free stuff to the fans, and he'd come out, "Come on, man," and everyone be happy, and he was just Mojo, and I always liked him. He did the big butt drop as the finish, like the earthquake splash. So I always had an appreciation for that. Him and Ryder, I mean, Ryder had that same over the top thing going on. I do think it's funny when Ryder buries it. I don't think they were a very good match in many ways, but I think that if you're someone on the writing team at the time and you've got to do something with Ryder and you have to do something with Mojo, I don't think this was the worst case scenario. Their promos are they had promos, and then I will say that Alexa Bliss and her guys promo was so good.
Yes.
And it was so fun for me to watch because when Lexi showed up, again, didn't come from wrestling. It's harder for people when they don't come from wrestling, and you want them to succeed because they're passionate about it and they listen and they want to do good, and she was a perfect embodiment of that. I thought she really did well, and she actually became a good wrestler. And this promo she would cut promos on promo day. I wasn't there while she was there that long, but this promo she cut with those guys was incredible, and I was like, good for her, man. And they were great. They were a great rock and roll RPMs, Bad Company esque mid card tag team, and they knew their role as a tag team. And obviously, one of them is a Dory Funk Jr. trained wrestler, and the other one is just a beast of a human being who he came up and tried out for us too while I was there, although he wasn't there when I was actually there. But he always was just so intense. He was like a Steiner almost. He just had this intensity about him. So I really liked their team. Didn't they have like a dubstep theme song too?
They did. Yeah.
What a delightful sign of the times that was. So there you go. They had the dubstep theme song. They had unique attire. They had little half shirts. It was a lot of fun, and I like the whole presentation here.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned our beloved Dax the Axe earlier, but he always says it when he gets a chance. And watching these back, Wesley Blake was so good, man. I mean, I think he's contributing as a coach now. I believe he's coaching some. I hope he is. I saw something about that. I hope that was the case. But he didn't really get much of a run beyond this. And then he had the Forgotten Sons, which we aren't against that. But, you watch his actual output in these matches, he's terrific. You mentioned Alexa Bliss as a promo. I honestly think she's like an all-time case of just in the blink of an eye, it clicked. I know you didn't watch closely, Rob, but she legitimately turns heel and immediately it transforms her like entire personality. Like she has so much confidence. This is only 6 months into her being a heel, and look how confident she is by this point, right? It's amazing how quickly it can happen for people. It's just wild to me.
Yeah, when I was there, I remember she was like Pixie Princess, and
Yes.
she came out like a princess, and I didn't mind that. I guess you want her to be babyface and be led by more experienced girls. I get that. I had always said to her, and I don't know if they ever did this. I looked at her and Tyler Breeze, and I'm like, this is Miss Linda and Adrian Street. I'm like, this is going to be something that could really this package will be greater than if you were separate. I don't think they ever did that. They ended up putting Summer Rae with him, believe it or not, which I also love. But I thought that was it. I'm just like, you need to be like a bitchy heel manager, and you need to be with someone who preens and like just is like, gets his ass kicked, and you need to get mad at him, like a Missy Hyde, Eddie Gilbert type thing. And she found her way. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure, there's a lot more to this tag team and her. But what I actually saw, I loved. I loved her yelling at the guy, and like they're not good enough. Like it was just great. I thought it was really good TV, and man, I'm just really happy for her success, and she's doing really good now too. So.
And another one, right? We mentioned earlier about the longevity of that crop in the women's division. Alexa main evented Raw last month, I think. Like it's awesome. It's really cool to see, and it gives these shows extra relevance as we move on through the years here. As I said, this culminates a 4-way tag at Wembley Arena. American Alpha are over huge. This is, again, is an example to me, Rob, of the kind of match we see a lot on TV now. The multi-team moves match, but it feels very different on NXT, where you didn't get this match at all. Actually, you never got this match on NXT TV. What did you make of the big 4-way party match at Wembley?
Oh, I liked it a lot, and again, everyone got their shit in. I liken it to like an old Ring of Honor 2002 or 3 scramble match. And again, there was usually one of those on Ring of Honor shows. Now, people will say, oh, well, Ring of Honor had high spot matches all over the place. They did. But I also think that those scramble matches had way more high spots than even the high spot matches. So this stood out in a good way. And I agree with you. I think 4-way tags, 4-person or 4-corner matches, and I think 6-way matches are very much needed in wrestling. I was really happy to see like the survival of the fittest style 6-person match the other week.
Yeah.
And just stuff like this. Like, don't do them all the time. I think sometimes wrestling thinks they have to just do ladder matches and brawl matches and gimmick matches. And I mean, again, back in the day when I would watch Ring of Honor in 2007 and 8, they did a lot of this. I'm like, good. The old Teddy Hart theory. More is more. Fuck you. But like more isn't more, man. Like, sorry, Ted Hart, you're wrong. Less is more. All the old people say it. I'm now old too. Less is indeed more. So like, I would like to see, because again, you can get hurt walking into the ring. I've seen it. But like, honestly, like, I do think wrestling probably needs to tone down some of the crazy things. You don't have to have a 5-star quote unquote wink wink match every single week. You don't have to have a gimmick match every single month. Make them matter, space them out. And this is promotion wide in the business. I would like to see that. Are we going to? I don't know. I'm not necessarily the fan they're all aiming at either. So if they don't do it, that's fine also. I just know that from a longevity standpoint, I'd like to see less dangerous stuff done. So
I agree completely. There was a Money in the Bank match this year, and to be completely honest, I generally avoid those matches because to me, it's like you're just waiting for someone to break a leg, aren't you? It's just that everyone does so much crazy stuff, and there was one this year with the women, I believe, where they didn't do anything crazy, and they instead sort of leaned more on their popularity and their character and so. And everyone hated the match, but it won't surprise you, Rob, that I just went, good for them. Good for them.
Yeah,
That's right.
good. Yeah. Again, the match of the year for me is the match where someone misses a move, someone then hits one and wins. That's what I want. That's the new near fall. Like
Yeah,
the new shocking thing is when someone makes a mistake and the other person capitalizes on it and wins. That's how professional wrestling was for like fucking 70 years. Then it somewhat changed and I loved it when it changed.
yep,
I'd like to see it go back to that a little bit, but I doubt it. But again, I think sometimes you do enough stuff and there's enough excess that sometimes you can't go back because, like you said, people will be like, "Oh, well, they pussed out, they didn't do what they should have." Da, da, da,
exactly.
da, da.
Yeah,
Whereas, I'm over here. There used to be other old heads that might be left. There's a guy called John D. Williams. John D. Williams is a wrestling fan on the West Coast, and when I was coming up watching the Indies, he would rate the All Japan matches or the New Japan matches, and like he hated the Indies and they're all doing too much. And what are they
mm,
doing? And he doesn't like Loki as much as I do. And I hate he hated the head drop matches with Kobashi and Masawa. And he would write these write ups about it and in great explanation, explain why things quote unquote sucked to him and why they weren't good. And I'd get so mad reading it 20 years ago. I'm like, this guy's all stick in the mud. And like, I'm not saying I'm John D. Williams now by any means, but like I kind of understand it more now where it's
yeah.
just like, if don't prostitute your moves. Like if you have a big move, like I'll say one. Pac is my favorite wrestler ever, and like he's one of my favorite people ever. And he does like the most beautiful top rope brainbuster. And I don't think I've seen him win with the top rope brainbuster more than like once. And I always just feel like, man, if this guy just had the top rope brainbuster and he busted it out once a year, and
Yep.
every single time he did it, the match was just over, that'd be really cool. But again, maybe people don't like that as much as I. Again, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm gonna put my glasses
That's
on and
the
say that
biggest
I'm right and
thing.
the wrestlers are
Yeah,
wrong. But
yeah.
for what I like Eddie Guerrero when he was Black Tiger in the '90s, that was his kill shot. If he hits you with the top rope brainbuster, you are not kicking out. That was a wrap. So when he walked up to them ropes, people got excited because oh fuck, if he hits this, it's over. If Otani's on there, he better fight him off. If someone else is on there, they better cross their legs on the ropes and not get done. But that's the fun of it to me. That's the everyone's like, oh, wrestling and stories and moves. Like that's the story to me. When like you just don't
Right.
allow something and you build something up to mean enough. And that's a commentary thing. That's a video package thing where you build something up like that. Like remember, was it what did they do with MJ? Oh, MJF and the kangaroo kick, right? People
Hmm.
fucking hated it. But like I loved it because he built something up that was completely preposterous, and it got like this one of the no, not one of the biggest reaction in Wembley Stadium's biggest
Yeah.
crowd ever.
It was his
So it's
people's
like,
elbow, right? It was his people's elbow
yeah,
or something to that effect. Yeah. And
yeah,
you said it, and I think we both try our absolute best at it. So I'm glad you said it. It's like that doesn't necessarily. We're not suggesting if Pac does that, he main events Full Gear and they sell 2 million pay-per-views. That's not what we're saying. We're saying we think it'd be cool, man. Like
yeah.
that's important, right? Because I think so many people they present their shit in a way of like if they just did this, it's Wembley Stadium sold out twice over. It's like not necessarily, but it'd be cool to see. I absolutely agree with you. Yeah, 100%.
I think it comes from my upbringing in wrestling too, where they had wimpy matches, and like everyone would just do their finishing move, and the match would end.
Yeah,
And then like when there'd be a quote unquote feature match on any of the shows, like no one just kicked out of big moves in the '90s until like maybe the mid late '90s. But and I don't blame Taker and Sean. I don't blame Tozawa and Hero for the one counts. But
right.
like certain things happen in wrestling that popularize something because it gets a giant reaction at the right time, at the right stage. And then of course it's gonna be redone because like it worked.
Yep.
But I still would like everyone to not just lean on stuff that's gonna easily work. That means that like the reverse Rana you just hit doesn't mean anything. That's all.
Great example in the chat. Sammy and Gunter, he does the brainbuster and the top buckle. He had completely. I don't think he'd ever done it in WWE before. I don't think he'd completely saved it. And it's like you remember that because of what we're just describing. But
Oh, I
absolutely,
remember Claudio did the UFO in Ring of Honor and PWG. And I
yep.
remember him going up to Terry Taylor. Or no, I showed Terry Taylor a clip of Claudio doing the UFO to Morishima at NXT. And Terry was almost mad. He pulled Claudio, who was visiting, in the room. He's like, "Why don't you do this?" And Claudio's just like, "I'm going to save it for the right time at a big WrestleMania," or whatever. And like years and years later, I think he debuted
He
it at a
did.
WrestleMania. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really admire that. Like, I
That's
admire that
awesome,
because
dude.
he could do that anytime he wanted to, and it could have gotten over, but he just kept it in his back pocket, and then he did it when it meant the most. And I think that's great. I'd like to
That's
see more of that.
tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. Folks, we're going to run down here some of the highlights from the house shows, Rob. Every month I do this. Feel free to chip in with anything that comes up. But if you're happy to just listen to me read them, that's fine too. Whatever works for you. We're gonna do that. We're gonna hit some super chats. We're gonna head on out of here so Rob can enjoy his Friday night. So there were 3 house shows in Florida in the month of December. One of the main events popped me. Enzo and Cass alongside Finn Balor against FTR and Shawn Spears, the eventual pinnacle here in early action in 2015, closing out one of these shows. We had Asuka and Carmella versus Alexa and Emma, which again is one you kind of look at and go, there was a lot of titles eventually won in that combination, right? FTR went with the Vaudevillains on top. Some Sonya Deville debuts. Her first ever matches after doing Tough Enough are in this very month. She works with Nia Jax twice. And then, of course, they head to the UK for, again, as I said earlier, a very notable tour in terms of the reactions everyone got. A notable tour in the sense that American Alpha in particular, it was like almost parody how over they were. They had 5 towns. They had the following matches in Newcastle and Glasgow. Finn Balor and Sami Zayn on top. So Sami actually worked that whole tour. So the match that we watched on TV, Rob, was like he'd worked the whole tour to build up to that. So he just immediately was back closing the house shows, which is a pretty neat thing for those that attended in Newcastle and
So wait,
Glasgow. No
did he
doubt.
wrestle Finn Balor?
Yeah, main event: Finn Balor, Sami Zayn in Glasgow and Newcastle. It's kind of wild, right?
Let me say this. I'm not
Yes.
going to pull the curtain back too much here and get in trouble, but back in the day, they bought a new camera. We were using Randy Macho Man Savage's camcorder from 1992 that he had given Steve Kern in the late 90s. For some reason, that was what we taped every match with when I first got there. So every single secret tape that exists of house shows of FCW shows prior to 2011 was taped with a 1992 camcorder given by Randy Macho Man Savage to Steve Kern. So like I remember when Canyon Seaman showed up. I'll just leave that there.
Yep.
The one thing he did that I really liked was he was like, "Well, what are we doing? We need to have a nice HD camera." So like, all right, cool. So he actually spent like 3 or 6, like a lot of some actual money. Believe it or not, we didn't have much of that at NXT when I was there, but they actually put some money into an HD camera that I could set up before every show, assign someone to, and they could tape these shows. Even I know that I secretly have a lot of cool matches that no one has ever seen that they have in there. Because I would tape the shows on the physical media, then upload it to a private YouTube every Monday after the shows were all over. They would all get labeled, uploaded, into the. But I always think if I had a time machine and they're like, "You want to move up to Connecticut and work for WWE?" I'd be like, "Hell yeah!" Only if maybe a year later I can go back down, and then like I wish I was there and had all of these matches that they have, because like these house show matches in many ways were better than even the big show matches. Like there were all the talent was so driven and they had so many great coaches and teachers and they were all in many respects in certain aspects of their prime in the wrestling business. There's probably so many amazing matches and I don't know about anyone else. I was a commentator for a long time, and I apologize for screaming and yelling so much on commentary. I know I wasn't that great, but I was good in some parts. I will say that. But I will say I don't like commentary anymore. I want to never hear another. I don't want to see commentary on it or even hear commentary on any matches forever. I love the pro shot aspect of professional wrestling. So every one of these vault releases that doesn't have commentary, I'm so happy about it. And AEW, if they start releasing all these famous matches from Ring of Honor without commentary, I'd be so amped. WWE has a giant library of so many 2010-ish NXT matches with no commentary, filmed on an HD camera, just one camera shot. Oh my God, Joe.
What would we do? I
How much
know.
would we both like to sneak into the office and just take it
Just
off, right?
I think about it regularly because there's a few matches through the years because I'm a lunatic, obviously. Like I've noted, like I want to
Yeah,
see
we're
that
we're
one.
both lunatics.
Yeah,
We're
of
both.
course. So, like the idea of WWE Vault uploading a 3-hour comp and it's just me scanning for it to see if any of my hidden, my lost classics made the cut. It's I mean, yeah,
Dude,
that's right up my alley. Yeah,
one day in the last months of my times at NXT, little Masquerita Dorada, who was my favorite wrestler in the 2000s, and I would tape. Me and Rob Viper would have tapes just sent back and forth to each other of either indie matches or like all these lucha. I would watch Masquerita Dorada 2000 ultimately became Masquerita Dorada. And when that little guy walked into our office, I almost fell to my knees in excitement. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And then like Dusty's like, who this? What's going on here? And I'm like, Dream, this is Masquerita Dorada. What the fuck are you talking about? You were on a 0-1 show, Steve Carino. Like he's like, all right, buddy, I guess. But and then like he's like, then I reminded him that the Pimpinella was in the match too, and he got a big kick out of him and thought he was gonna be a future star and all this stuff. So I just remember being like, oh my God, Masquerita Dorado. Well, someone handed me this HD camera one day, and they're like, we're gonna check this guy out. Neville's in the other room working spots with Masquerita Dorada. And I was like, this is my ultimate job in life. I just took the camera
this is my
and
moment.
I recorded the only footage ever of Masquerita Dorada working in the ring with Pac. And if buddy, I burned a copy of that so fucking fast. I was like, this is history for me, man. I'm burying myself. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I just remember thinking, wow, what a weird full circle moment this is. But yeah, man. So all that to say, God bless everyone that tapes their house shows and has copies of it. And we hope the vault eventually puts all
We
this good
do.
stuff out.
We're relying on them. Right? We're relying on them.
We are.
You mentioned Parker. He actually made these two house shows Newcastle. It makes sense, right? He came back for those who were Baron Corbin. They had a nice kind of crossover in terms of, they'd have, for example, Asuka work with Alexa and Carmella on these shows, which is obviously is like a crazy education, right? Just getting with Asuka and wrestle for 10 minutes in a house show. That's really cool. Joe was programmed with Cruz some. What else did we have here? So beyond those first two house shows, they moved to Corbin, Finn, and Sami in a freeway dance, the main event. The final house show in the UK before they did the takeover was closed by Finn, Sami, and Joe in a triple threat match.
Stop it.
And this one,
Stop
Rob,
it,
and,
Joe.
this could go very poorly, what I'm about to tell you, because I don't know if this still exists. This was on the network because there were a couple matches they uploaded as hidden gems. It was this one, and it was Bobby Roode versus Kota Ibushi from LA house show match. I remember watching this on the network. I have no idea where the hidden gems have gone now that the Peacock, all that. I don't know where they are. I don't know. But this is out there, Rob. We can find this for you. Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Samoa Joe. We'll find this for you.
That's so great, man.
What a wild time.
As you're mentioning all of this, something else fans have to realize, and I say that as a fan myself, is that we don't have this anymore.
Yeah.
Like when these guys and girls go out there and they have a wrestling match, like a lot of times it either got put together that day and they've never had a prior match. That's really tough. Like there's not an AEW school, right? There's not. NXT has the school still, so good for them. But WWE, they don't really do house shows anymore. So all these performances we're seeing right now largely are not matches that are really worked on. And I don't mean necessarily even practiced in a warehouse prior, because some people would say that's not the way either.
Experience out wrestling each other in real matches, right?
Yeah, like back in the 80s and 90s, like this project I'm doing, like all these wrestlers have hundreds of matches against each other, and then they ultimately are known for having these great TV match rivalries and and you're like, wow, they're really good together. Well, yeah, they worked all the time. So like a lot of these guys and girls, like I guess there's still house show loops for WWE and stuff.
Kind of. Not really, though. Yeah, not really.
NXT, I think that's what I meant.
NXT does. Yes,
yeah. So good on that. But I'll bet a lot of even the big names don't even go to them anymore. I'll bet they don't have to. But like back in the day, all these guys and girls we've been saying their names, and part of the reason I think this was such a special group is they all were doing these shows, man. They were all working with each other, perfecting their matches, working on stuff, motivated, basically seeing all these larger increased crowds, knowing that many of them had the lowest crowds and what they've turned it into. And what a motivating factor that must be. So it's kind of cool to hear all this.
It is, and I think for those of us that remember seeing those promotional videos recapping it, there's a real reverence to those houses. I'm not saying it's a big audience, but I would like to see. Hopefully, the Vault can dig into some of that stuff, even if they have to wait a little bit, because I know it takes time for people to have nostalgia, right? I think I'm probably the outlier in that sense of like purely a fan that actually does have nostalgia for this stuff. I think a lot of people, it's still there's a lot going on, especially with Triple H being so at the forefront of the main show now. I think it also makes people less keen to like let's go back and relive this necessarily. But I think as you experience here, the shows themselves are just an absolute treat, aren't they? They're so refreshing. So I'm glad you enjoyed this process, Rob. It was a blast to talk to you about, mate.
Yeah, man, this has been wonderful. I'll be back on at some point. And I do appreciate you having me on, and I love what y'all are doing, man. It's fun.
Appreciate you. Our chat did chip in throughout the night, so we're going to go through these. We appreciate everyone's support, folks. Usually I'll get to these when they come in, but quite frankly, we're having too much fun. So I apologize. We're going to go through these. Matt has been a member for 4 months. We appreciate you, Matt. He says, Rob, thank you for joining us for this important question for all Full Sail Behind guests. This is a monthly tradition from Matt. Do you get hyped or do you stay hyped? That's a great question, Rob. What do you got?
I stay hyped.
Yeah, pro's pro. If this
Very good
last
question.
2.5 hours have proved anything,
Yeah,
Rob Naylor stays hyped.
I stay hyped, man. I could take. Yeah, I stay hyped. I'm just gonna say.
Scott has been a member for a full year. That's awesome. Thank you, brother. He says, love this series. Question for Rob. A lot was talked about Rollins back in the FCW days. Did you witness any of that? Any stories? So I think it's in reference to Seth being a somewhat polarizing figure. Dare I say?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and Terry Taylor butted heads. And, even me and Rollins, and I love the guy, but like I remember one time he walked in and he had a T-shirt and he's like, oh, this is a clothing line company and I'm going to wear it on TV. I have a thing, I'm going to have a partnership with them. I go, no, I don't even have to ask the office. I'm pretty sure you're not allowed to do that. He's like, I'm going to do it anyway. Bye. Like, that would have come down on me. Or like sometimes people be doing voiceovers and it's like, hey, you need to come back. Oh, well, I already did my voiceover. No, you need to come back. And certain people won't want to come back. But then I get in trouble. And I'm like, I'm just trying to keep my head above water on a lot of this stuff. So like, sometimes I think everyone has their own situations in life and they have their own place and they feel like they're having their own issues left and right. And I just think that Rollins, when he got there, had high hopes for his career and he has knocked them all completely out of the water. But he was a very determined guy.
Right.
And I remember there were actual thoughts of putting Jinder Mahal over Rollins in that tournament.
Wow.
And I love Jinder, but I was just like, for what the company is going to turn into with NXT, if this happens, that's not the move, man. Like, you got to go with Rollins, who's the new face, And I remember when he got the belt, I was the one taking the pictures of him with the belt, and the Dream gave him a big hug, and everyone liked him. It wasn't like he was not like he didn't purposely go around being a complete asshole. He wasn't that. I just think you got to look at Terry Taylor and his upbringing under Bill Watts and how wrestlers just fell in line. And there's a whole generation and a couple generations removed. That ain't like that anymore. Even some of the people we admire, they ain't doing stuff you're asking them to do. That used to not be an option. So I just think it was a generational thing with a vet who meant well and a talent who was a little headstrong. And I think once H stepped in and just talked to Rollins, I think it all got smoothed over and he has thrived. Like he's done great. And I remember he's always been a really good friend to me. He calls me Robbie. Like very few people in my life have ever called me Robbie. He's always good to see you, Robbie. But I like him. I'm very happy for all his success. But I do remember there was a time there when it wasn't fun, and he was having some butting of heads with some folks. And ultimately he got past it, and we all see all the success he's had. So good on him.
Absolutely. Mid takes and the Super Chaser. The coolest thing about early NXT is the Liger match. Anyone know if he was Cyan White? So this was actually in line with what you were describing earlier with those guest spots. This was a complete one-off for Brooklyn because at the time Brooklyn was their biggest show by a mile, right? I mean, it was not even close. So I think it was just as simple as a one-off, a guest spot, right, for Liger with the Tyler Breeze match, I believe.
Yes, and I've always made the assumption that it was Mr. Regal that put all that together. I assume that he still had a lot of connections from his times in New Japan, and I think he's the one who probably put all that in motion. But that was really cool. Like Jushin Liger had a Jushin Liger had a WWE match. That's insane.
And it was big for NXT's kind of branding and marketing. How different is this thing? They're gonna have Liger come in and do a one-off, and he's gonna win too, right? Like that's so un-WWE, if you will. It's
and think about this: all those New Japan fans that wouldn't watch WWE on a dare will probably watch that show and look at the show they watched. A lot of them probably stuck around because it wasn't the WWE they remembered all that.
Absolutely. Thank you for that super chat. Colt, right there with him, says, fellas, so damn excited to watch this tomorrow. Coaching 2 games tonight, but this is priority number 1 for tomorrow. Big fan of your Twitter, Rob. We're all a big fan of Rob's Twitter. He posts awesome clips and puts stuff over. I mean, that's all you want from a great Twitter account, right? It's what you need. It's perfect.
Stays out of shit as best I can, yes.
We reference it, Eva and I always joke, we call it the Book of Naylor. Because what it is there'll be a big debate on the timeline about like a finish on Raw. And then you'll be scrolling and you'll see the debate, and then in the middle you'll see Rob Naylor. It'll be like, Sid Vicious squash match in clip form. Like we always said the Book of Naylor. So we all study the Book of Naylor around these
Yes. You didn't see me say a goddamn thing about the John Cena finish. So that comes with age. Sometimes you just know you don't have to comment on everything.
You don't know. Everyone needs to know your opinion on everything is the biggest thing you can learn at any point in life for anything, right? Forget about wrestling Twitter, forget that. Just in real life, it's like,
yes, sir.
It's a game changer. The Book of Naylor, folks. Thank you, Colt. Good luck with the games. I hope you enjoy this when you see it. Our friend John Burson, a couple of super chats, he said 2 words: Bo fucking Dallas, which is terrific. Any Bo memories, Rob?
I'll just say this. I remember when Bo won the belt, they wanted Bo to go to Disneyland because he said, I'm going to Disneyland. And they tried to get me to go to Disneyland with him to take the photo. And I'm like, I got enough on my fucking plate. And I'm going to have to pay to go to fucking Disneyland. I'm like, tell him to go with a friend and take. So somebody just took a photo of him with the belt at Disney. See, that's the thing that comes to mind immediately. But Bo Dallas. I remember when he was Bo Rotundo when I got there, and then when he was eventually Bo Dallas. I thought that was a very good name. I had nothing to do with it, but I did think that was, if you're going to change someone's name, that wasn't a Michael McGillicuddy moment. They changed that name almost for the better in a way.
I would agree.
And I love the Rotundo family. Mike Rotundo was a beautiful person to me when I met him. Micah, the sister, is a sweetheart, and obviously Wyndham's the fucking guy. So,
absolutely. Thank you, John. He also said, this is in reference to some of your tales earlier. You don't have to comment on this, but he said, in my head, all these voices are humorous. So, make that what you will.
They're not, by the way. Some might have been, but they're actually a guy from Connecticut. So,
there you go. Speaking of guys from Connecticut, Hunter is a new YouTube member here. Gonna presume an innocent Hunter, but Hunter is here nonetheless. Welcome aboard, brother. Final one here, Rob. Jumanji Hunter said, what do you think of the perception that the PC felt? So this is in reference to, and I'm sure you've seen these posts, the lack of pure performance center products, I guess would be the way to phrase it. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but that's been the general debate. What do you make of that kind of, as a broad topic? I know we're late in the show, so feel free to just kind of handle this in Cliff Notes form if you'd like.
All right. I've changed my opinion on this various times.
Yep.
When I first left, I remember calling the Dream up. I'm like, how's the big new PC? He's like, Robbie, it's just another fucking wheelhouse. So I was like, all right. So that was what he said. It's just like, the game never changes, just another warehouse. I was like, all right. But like, to the same point, like Dusty, when we had the little building, he would walk in and just be in a bad mood because we were where we were. He's like, I'm Elvis to this industry, and I'm in a motherfucking broom closet because like our little office sucked. So like he knew he deserved better. So I am happy that he got the bigger warehouse. For a few years after the PC started, I did feel that they were not putting out the homegrown talents as much as we did. I say we, 2011 to 13.
Right.
I can't really speak to prior to that. Uh, I did feel that a lot of the people that were becoming stars were just people that they picked up from other places. Uh, but moments like tonight, we're watching these shows, right? Look how polished it all is. Look how good it made a lot of the people that were already good better. Now, this isn't they taught Finn Balor where the hard cam was. No, like that, come on. But in a way, they augmented a lot of the already very good qualities from a lot of people from the Indies or Japan. I don't think they did the best for some people. Like, I think Hideo Itami and the renaming of Kenta was fucking idiotic.
Yeah.
But, there's other things I don't think they did well. But I personally have never even stepped foot there, which is weird. They asked me when they were building it if I wanted to go, and I just knew that I was finishing up when they were moving there, and I'm just like, nah, I don't want to go if I'm not part of that team. So I didn't go.
Yeah.
But I visited there last year to see a TV taping, and I got to catch up with my good buddy Norman Smiley and Byron and everyone else. So that was nice. But I think that there's a lot of hardworking people that work there that aren't Triple H, because I think sometimes that's it too. Oh well, Triple H just controls everything.
Right.
There's so many other irons in the fire with all of this that you just can't say, oh, it's all Triple H. And whether you like it or not, like there are people doing a job, probably having a lot of their own interactions that are tense, that are under some pressure, that are trying their best to get some things over. So I personally don't like to judge because I'm not there and I don't know the
Right.
system. But, you know, I have never been there, so I can't really comment on how they take the new people and what the system is. I know that Norman usually works with a lot of the younger guys, and I would never, ever say anything about Norman Smiley's going to do the best job he can to get people from square zero to square one or two. So, I think people are trying. But I also think, to what I said earlier, the absolute lack of house shows is going to absolutely hurt some of the development in more recent times. I know this is a more recent occurrence,
Yeah.
but, that's just my 2 cents. I will say that obviously I thought early in the game that they should have been a little better with producing, given all the money they put into it. But at the same time, I wasn't there, so I can't really have too much of an informed opinion on it.
A very fair answer. Absolutely. Thank you, Jumanji Hunt. Okay, folks. This has been an absolute blast. Rob, please, anything you want to plug, now's the time, bro. Tell the people all about it. This has been wonderful. Go for it, Rob.
Oh, thank you, man. Everyone watch Joe's shows because he's the youth of America and a good guy, and I've enjoyed this. I really genuinely do like what Joe does because, again, it's not very confrontational. I'm sure maybe someone can nitpick some stuff I said and say, oh, look at what Naylor said. But, like, this is an easygoing deal. I like just talking to Joe about wrestling. This has been even better than I thought it would be. Uh, so watch all of his stuff. And there's something called Wrestling Playlist. There's a beautiful human
Yes.
being called PWO Lost, Charles. He is the absolute best. He's my favorite wrestling fan of all time. And he produces a bunch of write ups every single day about the history of professional wrestling. We're currently in 1987. I work in conjunction with him as far as producing and curating a bunch of music videos for every single month as we move forward. We started in January 1985. We are currently in December 1987. So every single month has got a nice, fun 4 to 5 minute music video. We don't leave any stones unturned. I'm talking Joshi, the UK, every Japan organization, all the territories, WWE, AWA, NWA. We try to focus on everything. So if you want to go watch the music videos to the tunes of that era, you can go there. You might like it, and definitely you'll like what Loss has to say because he's a very nice guy and always has a lot of very insightful things to say about professional wrestling. So just do that and support whatever fucking wrestling you like.
Yes.
And if you like certain wrestling, just don't dogpile on all the other wrestling. Just like what you fucking like. That's all.
I agree, and I mean, Loss obviously is a legend, and you have for the audience watching this, there's a direct kind of link there because obviously, what the great Rob Naylor just mentioned, but also with Season of Giving, I was able to contribute. Our friend Adonis, who's part of LNG, was able to contribute. So it's like a natural fit, I think. To be honest, and I think I don't want to speak for you, but I think in this case I can. Loss is like one of the most valuable people in the entire community. Just what his intent is with pro wrestling, right? I mean, he's an absolute treasure, the guy. So,
100%.
yeah.
And like a lot of us, got a great real life job, all that stuff. But he just focuses a lot on just stuff he enjoys and sharing stuff and, just writing about stuff. And again, you'll never really usually catch him saying a cross thing about anybody. So he's doing it the right way, in my opinion. And yeah, man. I mean, I know positivity accounts are annoying. I hope I'm not one. I'm just usually I'm going to step over this pile of dog shit and do something else. But
Exactly.
but that's kind of a good way to do things in my elderly opinion. So again, go check out Loss's stuff and watch wrestling and enjoy wrestling. There's enough horrible, shitty things happening in the world that wrestling, if it's a hobby of yours, should probably be some way, shape, or form of entertainment. So watch it accordingly.
I most certainly agree. ZX, new member. Appreciate you. Welcome aboard, promotional partners tier. And speaking of horrible things happening in the world, in a moment I'm about to head behind that very paywall, and we're going to watch, myself and the great Contrarian Alex going to watch this Anthony Joshua Jake Paul fiasco live on Netflix. So you can join us for that. So we'll be watching that.
Man, you guys deserve a fucking armband and a medal for that activity.
So ZX, you could be in the building for that, as anyone else who's a member at any tier. Also coming up, to be fair, Rob did the best late night Grin plug you'll hear tonight, but I'll try my best here. Coming up on Monday, we have a bunch of stuff to just wrap up the kind of stream things before Christmas here. We're going to do a Christmas party stream of sorts on Monday night. And on Christmas Eve is Tuesday. Christmas is Wednesday this year, right, Rob? Wednesday? That sounds right, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, Tuesday on LNG Productions, Holidays with the Hoots will premiere. Myself and the Good Brothers had a chat last night, and I have to say, and this probably won't surprise you, Rob, there is a story on this particular stream, this podcast, I should say, about the great Dirty Dango. And it is the funniest story I've ever been in a StreamYard studio for. And you had some gems tonight. But the Big LG had a Dango story that was just, everything you could possibly want about pro wrestling, to be honest.
How
it was just
funny is Gallows? Before I even got involved with wrestling, I knew that Gallows was a running buddy of Punk's. And I just always heard that he was just like the glue to most locker rooms, just the funnest guy to be around. And then when I saw the Sex Ferguson shoot, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, this is so fucking funny. And then, like, so many other things he's said and done since. Like, he is just hilarious. So that seems like required listening for sure.
It's an absolute hoot, pun intended. I was wrong, by the way, Rob. This is how locked in I am. Christmas Thursday. It's Thursday. We should both be more aware of that, I feel. We're a week away. We're really struggling to keep up with what's going on in time. But nonetheless.
Joe and Rob, they know every NXT Intercontinental Champion. Don't know when Christmas is.
on December 19th, still struggling. Not sure. Any minute now it'll be here. All right, folks. So I'll be headed over to watch this fight, quote unquote. Stay tuned for other things. We've got a bunch of stuff coming up. But more than anything, please support Rob. And I think it goes without saying, based on how this went, you probably will see this again sometime one day. Sometime it will happen. We'll see each other down the road, I'm sure. But please support Rob. Rob, if you can, stick around after the outro so I can thank you for the house. But for those watching, we appreciate you. Please like the video if you haven't already. Comment, do all that good stuff we do on YouTube. This was the final free stream before Christmas. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please tune in to Holidays with the Hoots. Have a great weekend. Keep grinning. All how. And enjoy this outro. Goodbye, folks.